Hello, very good morning to you. You're welcome to The Big Issue. We are live on 97.3 City FM. We are also on ChannelOne television and on our socials as well. This is your platform for incisive analysis and riveting conversation. We are live and interactive as always, and you can join the discussion via our WhatsApp line 020-444-7033 or 0549-986-996. We'll be happy to read your views out to the rest of the world. My name is Salom Adonu. Three issues we have on the table. Healthcare delivery in this country over the week and a half ago came to a standstill. Nurses across the country laid down their tools in pursuit of their conditions of service. They say they signed the conditions of service with government last year, and till, this year, as we speak, those conditions of service have not been implemented. They say nurses are also important, and so why should government tell them that there is no fiscal space and that they have not been captured in the 2025 budget? So they lay down their tools. A number of things were said, but they still decided to go on strike. Eventually, Parliament found a way of bringing them back. So as we speak, the strike has been called off. We want to understand why they went on strike, what the matters are, and what Parliament told them. When are we expecting to hear something favorable from government in respect of their situation? That is on the table this morning. Also, just yesterday, the Attorney General, true to his word, is, according to him, concluded investigations into the National Service Authorities matter. There's a scandal there, which was first uncovered by the Fourth Estate, where a number of thousands of ghost names were allegedly captured on the payroll of the National Service Authority. The Attorney General says some 548 million of the state's money has gone into individual pockets fraudulently. These were payments allegedly made to ghosts on the payroll. And it did appear, from what the Attorney General told us yesterday, that there's an elaborate scheme by officials and past officials of the scheme to fleece the state. A number of people, about a dozen people, according to the AG, will be arraigned very soon, and the law will take its course. Also, this week, the National Communications Authority decided to close down some 62 stations. Not long after that announcement, the president intervened to ask for reasonable time for them to get their matters right or to put their house in order. But the question is, why should the president intervene in that manner? Is it a case that the Ministry of Communications did not inform the presidency about this huge action, especially where a similar one in previous years caused a lot of consternation across the country? And if you recall, Radio Gold and a few others were shut down because of what the regulator called infractions of the law. Same infractions of the law have been cited by the NCA in this respect. Notable among the stations, Asasi Radio, Wuntumi FM, and a few others were to be shut down or were shut down until the president's plea to the ministry and NCA to allow them reasonable time to put their house in order. The NCA has written back to them to say they've given it 30 days to clean up their house, or they risk being shut down. These are the matters we are considering this morning for you on The Big Issue. I'll take a short break. When I return, I'll provide you some updates, introduce my guest, and then we'll get the discussion underway. This is The Big Issue. You're welcome. You're welcome back. This is The Big Issue. Three key issues we're looking at this morning. The nurses' strike, though it's been suspended, we'll look at the matters and seek to understand it. Healthcare delivery in the last couple of days came to a standstill. The nurses said their conditions of service had to be implemented. Government said there's no fiscal space. They were not even captured in the budget, but they say no, they don't understand why it should not have been captured, or it shouldn't be captured in the budget, because they agreed on the conditions last year, and a number of meetings have been held with this particular government. So is it a case that government does not respect nurses and all of that? The government tried calling retired nurses to fill in the space. We don't know how that went, but Parliament eventually stepped in, and the nurses appeared to have listened to the representatives of the people. So they suspended our strike pending some discussions with Parliament, and we hope Parliament will do well to approach the ministry so that an amicable solution today some parts will be reached so that our nurses will go back to the hospitals and take care of our people. Also, this week, the National Service Authority scandal is seeing some light, in the sense that the minister, the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, says he's concluded investigations on same and is ready to go to court with what he has. About a dozen people will be arraigned. Minister says that some 548 million is being lost to the state as a result of the scandal. We saw over 81,000 ghost names on the payroll, and monies from these were going into individual pockets. And it did appear, from what the minister read to us, that an elaborate scheme was put together by individuals at the time in the service, or the National Service Authority, some private vendors and a few others, to fleece the state. We will look at that in due course. Also, some radio stations were closed down. President intervened. They've been given some time to put their house in order. And data pricing, some judge announced some data pricing this week. We will see about that as well in the show today. But let me just provide you with some update. Now, the Registered Nurses and Midwives Association has suspended its nationwide strike following what it described as a fruitful engagement with the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health. In a statement issued on Friday, June 13, the association announced that discussions held on Thursday, June 12, 2025, with the committee and other stakeholders paved the way for an amicable resolution of the impasse concerning the implementation of their collective agreement. The Ghana Nurses and Midwife Association, Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwife Association, said the suspension of the strike is in anticipation of further progress at the follow-up meeting scheduled for June 26, 2025.
Engagement held with the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health and other interested parties on Thursday, 12 June 2025, was very fruitful and has paved the way for an amicable resolution of the impasse with our employer concerning the implementation of our collective agreements. 2. In view of point 1 above, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association's industrial action, initiated on 2nd June 2025, is hereby suspended, pending the outcome of the follow-up meeting scheduled for 26 June 2025. 3. We call on our dear nurses and midwives to resume their normal shift duties from Saturday, 14th June 2025. And we wish to assure you that we will not rest on our oars until the collective agreement is fully implemented.
All right, so you heard from the nurses, and Parliament has intervened. We'll see what happens on the 26th of June. And of course, if things don't happen in a manner that they are happy with, they will go back and lay down their tools. That is the message. To help us do the discussion this morning, we have Jefferson Asari, who is chairman of the Greater Accra Regional Branch of the Ghana Registered Midwives and Nurses Association. We have Hamza Suhini, is a member of the NDC Communications Team, a private legal practitioner. We have Richard Ahiagba, Director of Communications for the MPP. Andrew Apia-Dankwa, spokesperson for the Movement of Change. And of course, Franklin Kujo, who is president of Imani Africa. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Let me start off with you, Jefferson. I mean, it's been how many days? How many days were you on strike?
Sure, we went on strike. Actually started on the 6th.
On the 6th.
But the roadmap started on the 4th of June.
All right, so
June.
about 10 days in all.
Yeah.
And you laid down your tools. I mean, that should be a very difficult thing. People watching from outside see it. I mean, nursing, very, very, very interesting, very, very delicate profession. Leaving your tools or dropping your tools and embarking on strike while you see people die should be very heartless.
We feel the same way they feel. and we understand it better because we are the hospital with them. But they should also remember that aside all the challenges, the logistical challenges, the infrastructure challenges, we remain there with them. But what I want to put straight and emphasize is this struggle was not only financial struggle. It wasn't fought because of financial struggle, but it was fought because of systematic failure. It was fought because of unfair treatment in the health ecosystem. It was fought for professional wealth. Yes. We have not been treated fair all these years. You can't, in a point where the nation is dying, you call us heroes. And when you need to sustain ourselves, then you tell us that you do not matter. In the days of cholera, we were the best for the nation. In the days of Ebola, we were all over, the best for the nation. In the days of COVID, we were heroes and heroines. What happened? Is it too big to ask for the small that you have promised us? It's not that we are asking for anything new aside what we have discussed. So our employer actually didn't sort our interest in whatever that they were doing, and that brought us here. We were treated unfairly. We were treated worthless, and even at a point, we were being insulted for sacrificing for Mother Ghana, whilst others went out to seek for greener pastures. If you take 4 nurses in Ghana within the last 6 years, one has traveled.
Wow.
In every 4 nurses, one have traveled. And in the 3 left, 2 are potential travelers.
They want to travel?
Yes.
Wow. So what happened to the sacrificial calling, the calling of nursing, the Florence Nightingale spirit?
Sure.
Now nurses no more want to sacrifice. They want to run away for greener pastures and striking, whilst the reason why they've been called, the people are dying. You know, President Akufo-Addo said something some time ago that we know how to bring back the economy, but we don't know how to bring back lives that may pass. So people would have died. Your conditions of service may be implemented, but people would have lost family. So was there no other way of engaging to make sure that we don't lose their lives, yet we find fulfillment or satisfaction in how the condition of service will be implemented? And the
emphasis is may be implemented. So it is not even a must. We got to where we were because of mistrust.
No, not necessarily. We understand that, of course, conditions of service were agreed upon last year. It was in the process, and some other things from your side happened, which put the implementation on ice. Now a new government has come, and the government has told us that there are a lot of problems, fiscal space almost non-existent, etc. And whilst the government is trying to navigate its way out, they are hit with such a huge strike.
Let me put this in perspective so that viewers will understand. We didn't cause that problem. Nurses and midwives have done our due. Whatever is expected of us, we did. In the days of Nightingale, nurses and they were working under conditions that were due, not strenuous and harsh conditions. So the sacrifice, we are doing it even under difficult conditions. We signed our conditions of service in May 2024, and it was due for implementation in July 2024. That is 1st July 2024. 2 days to the implementation, we had about 88, a section of nurses and psychiatric nurses, about 88 of them, saying that this condition of service that we have gone to negotiate, it is small, it is not worth of the struggle nurses goes through, the financial benefit that goes to the nurse, the allowances, it's not due, it is something they cannot accept. We sat down, we made them understand that, you see, after you have signed the collective agreement, you cannot go back to renegotiate with government unless after 1 year of its implementation or until it is expired, that is 2 years, then we go for. So they should understand. They said no, they went to court, so it was injuncted.
So that's not government. That wasn't government.
That wasn't government.
So that was your fault.
But there were two things involved in whatever means. We were in court. The court would say that yes, go and renegotiate, which will still bring financial implications, wouldn't it? The court will say no, go and implement this, which will still bring financial implications. So where were the managers? What were they planning?
Well, there was injunction. How has the case traveled now? Is the case concluded, or
the case concluded in December?
And what did the
they said we should go and implement this. We came for ADR, and the ADR, the leaders of the 88 group asked for 1 million Ghana cedis for the leaders themselves and 300,000 for the lawyers. That is the legal fee. I think it was.
The leader, I don't understand. They asked for 1 million cedis.
Yes, for them
the
to for them to understand that the issue should be
taken
withdrawn out of court, and for the implementation.
An out of court settlement.
Yes,
but why did they call for 1 million? 1 million cedis for their personal pockets?
Yes, that's I can give you facts. I'm the regional chairman. I'm the regional. For themselves. What
happens to the members?
I don't know. The legal fees. I think it was led by Becca Oliver. Yes, was requesting 300,000 Ghana cedis. We didn't have that money.
So
the association. So we went back to court. The judge still insisted that we should go for ADR. We came and said what we can do, because the 128,000 nurses that work in Ghana, GRNMA holds over 100,000 of them. So the longer this keeps, our members are the chunk that they suffer. We said that we gave an offer that, you see, the 1 million we don't have. If we have, we even invest in our members. What we can do is to pay 1/3.
No, why should they take you to court and now ask you to pay them?
I think they will be the best people to answer. What we can do is to pay 1/3 of the legal fee. That one we think it's fair, of which we did back and forth. They agreed. Then we went back to court, and court said adopted our agreement, and this was in December. January, we wrote to Chief Director, Ministry of Health, that we know that government has changed, but our condition of service.
So in essence, the matters surrounding your conditions of service were only resolved in December.
In December.
And in January there was a new government.
Exactly.
Okay. And then now in June, 6 months after the conditions of service matters were resolved, you are on strike.
Yes, it wasn't resolved. Because
what I mean was in court.
Yes, it was
resolution in court.
Yes, it has been resolved. So we wrote to the chief director, and he assured us that we shouldn't worry. They are aware of our document. Finance is also aware of it, because we have an employer. We don't deal with party A or party B or party C. No, our employer is the Ministry of Health, and the only thing that will change is the minister and some few other things. All the technical people who sit for these negotiations are there. So they said they are aware of it, so we should wait for the new minister, which makes a lot of sense. We did. And later the minister was appointed. We wrote to the minister, we met the minister. The minister said, wait, let me look at the document. And I think this is not a difficult thing for us to do. We waited, we went again. The minister said that, you see, let me speak to the finance minister, that we know how we will go about it. It makes sense. All these while we were communicating exactly what the information to our members. Finally, they told us that we should wait for budget to be read, then we'll be factored, which makes a lot of sense. We communicate same to them. We waited and budget was read, and we didn't hear anything. For me, I was thinking that probably it is under one of their huge monies that was budgeted for them, so not necessarily mentioning your condition of service. We engaged. The Ministry of Health PRO said that even after the budget reading, we engaged over 5 times. Yes, it is true. The official ones is the 5 times. The non-official ones is more than that. Even the letters to Ministry of Finance, letters to the Ministry of Health was more than that. So in a situation where you tell me that, wait, I will take care of you when we read budget, I have gone to inform my over 100,000 nurses. Then later you come to tell me that I did not budget for you.
So that chief director, have you been in touch with that chief director? Is it still the same?
The chief director we were engaging has left, but before the chief director left, the minister was aware. It was the minister who told us that they would take care of us in the budget. It was the minister. So now, if the minister should come and tell us that we don't have budget for you, if a whole government communication machinery should come and tell us that we don't have budget for you, we felt that was a big insult.
I see. Well, I'll come back to that. But for those who do not understand really what the conditions of service contain or what the terms were, can you, briefly tell us what you were expecting or what you put in the conditions of service?
Right. It is not anything big. Majority of them are insurance.
Okay. So what are they?
First of all, we were asking for rural incentive allowance.
Incentive allowance?
Yes, we are in Accra. And this does not go to every nurse. It is very difficult to accept posting to some part of Wale Wale, Damango, Gaboso, those rural areas where people will need to cross rivers to see clients, where people go through strenuous activities before they can provide care. We said that, you see, it will be fair to them to give them something small. This is
what's the 5% of their basic?
5%. And
5% of their basic salary.
Yes, their basic.
No,
you will be sad.
What's their basic?
I wouldn't want. It is very disgraceful to mention.
No, mention. I don't mention. What we want to know, so we appreciate the situation.
A net salary of some nurses is less than 2,000 Ghana cedis. That's a net, including basic
entry level.
It's hard. Entry level. The person has worked for more than 4 years.
I see.
Including allowances and basic salaries and all 2,000 Ghana cedis here in Ghana. And we are saying that person working at the village where there's no light, where there's no proper infrastructure, where he works from morning to evening. Even in the evening, people are knocking on his or her door. Do something small for them to motivate them, such that they also do not run from our parents, our grandmothers, our family members who are the village. This is it. And we say that nursing is a science, and it keeps revolving. And so, therefore, this, like I was saying, the rural incentive was not for every nurse. It was for only a
rural
session.
Incentive. Okay.
Yeah.
So what again?
Then we asked for book and research allowance.
Book and research allowance.
Yes, exactly. This allowance is also not for every nurse.
Great.
It is for nurses who are into research and into tutoring.
Okay.
Those who teach.
So what percentage of?
We asked for 10%.
10% of the basic.
Exactly.
Okay. So what again?
We also asked for a non-basic allowance.
Non-basic allowance.
Yes.
Which is what?
That one is non-basic allowance was 8%.
8%. So
yes.
What does that do?
Our market premium, as at the time discussed, was supposed to be 78% of our basic salary. Currently, as I talk to you, it ranges between 13.5% to 17%. You understand? You see how unfair the system is to us. So we said that, you see, we understand that there are challenges. We understand. So how do we resolve the challenge? In every time we go for negotiations, add something small to the market premium, such that we will be inching closer to the 78% of our market premium. We didn't do that adjustment. It is Fair Wages and Salary Commission that did that. Our market premium, the value is 78% of our basic salary. And now what we are receiving is between 13.5 to 17, depending on your rank. So this 8% was supposed to be an allowance, and the next time we go for negotiations, then they will add something small. We are not requesting that all of a sudden pay us.
That hasn't changed. Nothing small has been added.
No, nothing.
Okay, but is that peculiar to nurses? I'm not sure anybody
in the health system.
I'm not sure anybody is being paid like everybody is being paid exactly what their market premium is. That negotiation.
Let me tell you. I try as much as possible not to do the comparison, but you see, the list among the among the health ecosystem, market premium is currently around 67%.
I see.
And we are around 13 to 13.5 to 17. So if I tell you that this struggle was against systemic injustice,
I see.
You understand?
Great. So what again? So non-basic allowance.
Yes, and we also asked for medical care.
Medical care. You people are nurses and you're calling for medical care.
Yes. This is not money coming to our pocket. This is just like a form of insurance. Could you imagine that a psychiatric nurse who is hurt by a client pays for his medical condition?
Really?
At the ward. You see, you are surprised.
In the line of duty.
In the line of duty, I have a client, I have a colleague who is right now suffering from spinal injury at work. And it is the association that cater for the person. Last year, last 2 months, the person received a letter that if he does not resume, they're going to take him off.
Oh, that person who was injured in the line of duty.
If I tell you that our struggle was a struggle for systemic injustice this country has brought onto us, you will now understand. That same person who was on duty, will you imagine
but how difficult is it for a nurse who is working in the public sector to be taken care of by the same facility he or she works with? How difficult is that?
That is the question we were asking. That is
because you see the doctors anyway. So in fact, you are in the consulting with the doctors anyway. So they will just talk to you and prescribe medicine for you. Go to the pharmacy, take it.
You are making
go to the lab and get
more emotional,
some diagnostics done.
It is
how difficult
we
is
pay
that?
for it. Even para, we pay.
Really?
Can you imagine a
you
midwife?
Pay for it on paper?
No, we pay cash. Like we pay and take receipt. We pay. A midwife who, for example, somebody at Rich Kulebu can deliver or catch baby. We call it catch or deliver babies in a whole year between 300 and 500 one person. When he goes for even A and C antenatal service, that midwife pays for it.
But antenatal we don't pay.
So there.
No, but before giving better, we followed our wives to antenatal.
And it was free. Drugs, everything was free. When he goes to deliver at the same hospital, where he works, he pays for it.
So that's
and we are saying that at least
that's clear. But does it have a limit? What I mean is, there are some conditions we say can be covered.
Yeah.
You can't say it should be a limitless, insurance.
Right.
So there should be some conditions that should be covered. In any case, nurses should have health insurance, right? Health insurance is a national thing.
Yeah, we have.
All nurses have. So if you have health insurance, you go to the hospital, you should be taken care of.
And it's free.
But that's health insurance.
I'm not here to discuss.
No, but you people are the people who say
we are not the managers.
So you have health insurance card.
Those who take decisions there are there.
No, you have health insurance card.
We
you
have
go to the
insurance.
consulting room, the doctor sees you. That's it. And you take your medicine and all of that. You are nurses, the health insurance.
You do a phone in, right?
No.
Oh, sorry.
So yeah,
I would have wished that the general public will come and tell you.
So you're saying that even though you are workers in the public space,
we don't receive
there's a public national effort to help grant financial access to people in terms of healthcare delivery or access. And you are saying that you should be treated separately because you are nurses.
Not because we are nurses.
Or because you work in the health space.
It is because of the risk we are exposed. That is what we are saying. Is it not too sad that even in the days of COVID, nurses who contracted COVID needed to pay for their own care?
But COVID, nobody paid for COVID. It was free.
Hey.
No, COVID was free. Like it was free. That's what we're told.
I think the general public need a lot of education.
No, but COVID treatment was free, wasn't it?
What happens at the hospital? I think the hospital is now beginning to look like an occult space where people don't understand actually what goes in there.
COVID diagnosis, COVID treatment, and all of those in the government hospitals were free. That's what we're told, and that's what it was. Huge sums of money were coming to that.
That's what you were told. I would.
No, but the diagnosis of the
people were buying drugs. People were paying for it. Nurses paid for it. Even the insurance that was given, that if you working on them, you contract COVID, you'll be paid that insurance. Nurses died. That insurance.
But people were giving special treatment. You were giving special allowance.
People were home. without even going to work, and they were being paid.
So when they are working,
we didn't even ask for double salary.
No, that's fair.
We should have been paid. You see,
it's fair. It's fair. So now let's continue. What was the next one? Medical care, which I have issues with, but it's also fair. Point. Yes.
The Ghanaians actually don't value the services we provide.
No, we do. We do.
No,
we do.
No,
that's how we like nurses. We like nurses.
No, for liking nurses.
We like nurses.
Exactly the position you came in, comparing two people, two same public sector workers, one staying at home receiving his full salary.
One was giving double salary.
Not double.
1.5.
Not double. No.
1.5.
No.
Was giving what?
We were giving only one. The only thing we were giving was we were not paying tax on that. And how much is the tax?
That's
we were
like
not paying
30%
anything.
of your salary.
No, 25.
25% of your salary.
Yes. So somebody is receiving 100%. You see, there has been a lot of unfairness.
No, everybody pays
my colleagues, everybody pays tax.
Yes, but you guys,
the person who was sitting home did not take any car.
But you had free buses. There were free buses.
Where?
We even wanted to organize free buses for you. Government said no. Government said no, they will do it. And government did it. Free buses for people.
Our biggest problem is the media.
Really? We are rather giving you space to talk.
No, our biggest problem is...
No, so here you are on the media explaining things to people.
Because...
Look at the point you made about the medical
care. You only take one session of the communication. Government says this. And you assume that that is actually what is transpiring there. I am telling you today that the insurance government promised nurses, they never paid.
But you are quiet. Your leadership is quiet. So how will we know?
It is the reason why...
Once we don't hear you complain,
it is the reason why
then we presume that
you
it's been done.
blackmail as people will die, people will do this, our grandparents are suffering, and that one was cloned on us. Thinking so much of the vulnerable, not knowing that do not buy tomatoes.
I see. Hamza Suini is here. He is a lawyer. He is with the NDC communications team, and he's listening intently. He's interested in the matters you are discussing. I'll bring him in due course. So, what again? Medical care?
And we were asking for 13th month.
13th month?
Yes, allowance.
13th month allowance.
That's every profession in the health system takes it, except nurses. So
doctors take 13th month?
They have been taking it for the past 2 years.
2 years?
Except nurses.
Laboratory
I said I don't want to, everybody in the health system, except
months.
nurses.
Okay.
What this is paid at the facility level, not even from
so use your IGF to pay this?
Not even from the consolidation fund.
So this is IGF?
Yes. So right now, you know, all the things
so what
I
happens
mentioned.
if the facility is not able to raise enough IGF? What happens? It becomes arrears on the facility.
But people are able to pay themselves at that same facilities allowances.
No, I'm just raising a hypothetical point. In case the
other
facility
professionals
is so poor, because there are some chips compounds, etc., that also have nurses. But because of how they operate, they may not have IGF.
Yes.
Nurses, they have
the BMCs are responsible to
what was the
BMC? The district health facility directorates. We have
so they have to raise money to pay this.
Exactly, and it should be part of their budget. And we have continuous professional development.
That's part of it.
That's part of it.
CPD.
And the people who don't understand what this is insulted us.
The CPD is important because you have to be improving yourself.
And you know what? Government even uses the PIN to regularize his hospitals, register his hospitals at HIFRA, health agencies,
regulatory facilities.
Exactly.
Facility regulatory.
And you need, as I talk to you now, most of our hospitals in Ghana is operating without license because nurses have not renewed their PINs, and that is the risk.
But once they
somebody take them on.
Wait. They work in the government space.
Yes.
And who pays for the renewal of their license?
We were paying it ourselves.
But now you don't pay yourselves.
Now government said
so government pays.
No, it doesn't.
No, so if government says they will pay and government hasn't paid, the same government cannot come and say you've not paid, so go and
they were threatening our members for non-validation, for non-payment of their salary because of that. What we didn't stand up one day and got to where we are.
I'm saying that. So we are addressing the injustice.
The same government. The same government that said they will pay. It was the same government that were threatening nurses. If others went for promotional interview and they were not given. In the same government space, the same government agencies, the same government departments, they requested of them to bring their PINs, and they didn't have because government have not renewed it, and they were not granted the interview for promotion. So as at now, some nurses have been
How
denied.
long has this thing persisted?
Since January.
So it just started in January?
Yes.
Great. Because of the conditions of service that was approved. Okay. What else? CPD. What else?
These are the only
so these are the things you want. And
asking.
then government said what? They don't have fiscal space, and that you should defer the implementation. Was that what you were told?
That was what we were told.
To when?
That was, we heard that only on the day Fair Wages and Salary Commission invited us. That was, I think, on our first day of the strike, where we drew OPD and emergency service. We went to a meeting with the Fair Wages and Salary Commission, and that was when the first time we were told that the conditions of service were not budgeted for.
But you people yourselves, you didn't see it that it wasn't budgeted for.
No.
You don't have people who go through the budget to be sure whether what.
Like I told you that we didn't see that nurses and midwives were budgeted for, but we wrote letters to the minister, and we were giving assurances that they would take care of it.
Okay. So what did Parliament tell you? The Health Select Committee. What did they tell you before you accepted to call off the strike?
I will want to thank the committee very well, especially the chairman and the ranking member. They did marvelously well. It was very non-partisan, and I think we reached a common understanding. They told us that, you see, government, you can't tell them that no. You have nothing for them, because all these whiles that we were battling, they didn't come in with any offer. All they were saying is we can do it, we can, and that is not fair. So they didn't come in with any offer. So it was okay. If we cannot accept all you are saying, bring some. Let government also reconsider the decision of throwing everything away. Then we can have a mutual stand, of which that really helped.
Okay, so that's fine. Now, Hamza, Richard Anhiagba, Director of Communication of the NPP, is on Zoom. Franklin Kujo is on Zoom as well. Hamza, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Nurses, it's laid out their point quite well. Your government has been in power since January, and a lot of these matters were clear from January. Why didn't we include them in the budget that was read in March?
I think, first of all, good morning to you, my brother, and our cherished viewers out there, and of course, Richard and Franklin. You see, these are legitimate inquiries to be made, but I think that listening to the health minister and his PRO, it was quite clear that many of these things happened largely because of the internal wrangling that characterized the negotiation process, even before this government assumed office. And Senior, you know, as a matter of fact, that when it comes to the preparation of budgets, it really doesn't start with an inception of a new government. The discussions and many of these departments started preparing their budgets even before His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama was sworn into office. And I like the point my brother made, where he made reference to the technical team. I would want to see evidence of where our technical officers at the Ministry of Finance, where that attention was brought, where that fact was brought to the attention of government. I don't think that there's such evidence that it was brought to the attention of government. Yes, I do not think
that government didn't know about this.
It is not to say that government did not know about it. Remember that even when His Excellency President Mahama was sworn into office, and he appeared before the Parliament to present his first State of the Nation address, he indicated how unsustainable our economic indicators were, and the likely impact it was going to have on expenditure, especially 2025. That was not hidden. What that simply meant was that there were certain expenditure items that we needed to have a second relook at, especially at the back of the mountain debts that was inherited by this government. We needed that economic space to be able to at least clean the economic sector, put the nation back on a sustainable path when it comes to our economic performance, to be able to meet many of these demands, including that of the agreement of the nurses. And per the information I have, unless of course is in a position to tell me whether it's accurate or not, my information is that this is not the first time that government have to engage them for a postponement of such an agreement.
This particular government?
Yes, not this government, not this government. I think in the past, somewhere 2020 or 2022, government had to engage them in many of their demands, largely because of the fallout of COVID.
But this particular condition of service was signed.
No, I'm not talking in relation to this particular condition of
historically.
Yes, historically. There has been that kind of engagement where they have had to back down in terms of the demands they were placing on government, largely because of the economic situation at the time. I think somewhere 2020 or 2022. And so that is why I'm saying that he's in a position to determine. So yes.
He's shaking his head in the negative.
Yes, well, but
he'll deal with it later.
My information from many of his colleagues indicate that indeed we had such a situation where even Madam Perpetual herself had to engage many of health workers in that sector, assuring them that these are the assurances from government and that with the appropriate measures put in place, government will be able to get the economy back on its feet and be able to respond to many of these demands. Not necessarily what is contained in the current agreement. So that history is there. That history of engagement is there. What made it a little bit uncomfortable for me, in all honesty, has to do with the posture we all took. Not just the nurses.
Government as well.
You simply cannot. You see, we are...
The government said they could remain on strike. They will go and bring retired nurses to come and do their work.
I think that was not the communication from government. I listened to the press conference organized by the minister responsible for health, where he presented a situation that it was going to be extremely difficult, considering our financial space, for government to entertain it this year, and was only seeking for an extension of implementation in terms of the, I think, moving it from this year to somewhere next year, where the economic space would have been created. So that was the arrangement. But he also proceeded to say that in the meantime, it is the responsibility of government to ensure that we take care of the many lives that were under threat in our hospitals. And so as a stopgap measure, government made an appeal to retired nurses to come on board and support. And not just to retired nurses, even to many of his colleagues who were willing to support the process. They were all invited to come on board. So it is not as if government did not want to listen to them. Government was simply not in a financial situation to be able to engage with them meaningfully.
See, Hamza, if for example, government knows that it doesn't have fiscal space to contain or accommodate their demands, why didn't government inform them? Why do they have to wait and later discover that the agreement they had, after all, is not in the budget?
Absolutely. But you see, that is why you are listening to him. The briefing we have from the minister responsible for health and that of the Minister of Health in particular is quite clear that those difficulties were communicated to their leadership.
That indeed this budget will not be accommodated.
Yes, so you realize that is why I'm telling you that we are all, it was quite clear. That is why the expenditure item was not identifiable in the budget. It was clear.
Because he said it came to them as a shock.
Yes, so but that is the point I'm making. He said that they have had several meetings with government, some official, some unofficial. But from where I sit and based on the information I have, I am also privileged with an information that indicates that indeed at every step of the way, government indicated the difficulty in which it found itself. But you see, the reason why I'm saying that this situation was avoidable it has to do with the fact that, you see, Senior, for me, I think that we needed to engage more with each other. But at a point, our friends decided to move away from the negotiation table. Even when the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission called, they were unwilling.
So there was nothing on the table. So,
no,
so
see, when you are going to negotiate,
if you want to engage, you put something on the table.
No, that is not how you know. You know as a legal practitioner that is not how.
100. You come with 100, and I come with 0.
No, I can come with 0. I can come with 0, and you can also come with 0. But maybe at the end of the negotiation process, you would have gone out with 50-50. It happens all the time. We have been through this, Senior. You know this as a matter of fact. So the most important point is that there should have been more meaningful engagement, even especially at the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission level. I see. Because that is an institutional creature. But I don't blame them. And in all honesty, I don't blame them.
You blame who?
No, you see, I think that I agree with him to a very large extent when he said that our system needs to be looked at.
But look at some of the things he says. For example, a nurse. There are nurses who contract serious ailments.
I'll get there. You see,
they don't have any.
That is why I'm surprised that our nurses seem not to appreciate the angle this government is coming from. You see, Senior, somewhere in August 2024, before the general election, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama had cause to complain about the difficult situation health workers find themselves, especially when it comes to service delivery. And promised at the back of that at Winneba, when we were launching our manifesto, that we are going to incentivize that sector by ensuring that we make some monies available to take care of nurses who are willing to accept posting to rural communities. Okay. So it is part of the NDC manifesto, and I refer you to the...
So the rural incentive allowance perhaps is being captured in...
Yes, yes, so that's what I'm telling you.
Let me go on Zoom. I'll come back to
this is important. I beg you. This is important. This is important. You see, if you look at page 108 of the NDC's manifesto, we indicated that he spoke about the risks that they are exposed to. We are
but I see the manifesto was a promise. Now,
yes, but that is the point I'm making. You see,
so we want to see the rubber meet the road.
You will see it, but that is the reason why I'm saying that if they had taken their time and engaged more productively with us, they would have come to appreciate that in principle, the government is not against their demands.
But the government date is the issue.
Exactly.
Very well.
So it is not, their demands are not out of the ordinary as far as we are concerned as a government. These are things that we believe that they demand, they require to at least deliver service. And not just them. We complain about the public sector wage system and the fact that it doesn't really look satisfactory enough. And so there's already a commitment on the part of this government to make sure that we look at many of these things holistically. So that's why I'm telling him that, look, all the concerns you have raised here, these concerns are not new to the National Democratic Congress. We have a 4-year mandate. We can understand the urgency with which you need many of these things implemented.
Very well.
But what we are seeking to do is simply to engage you further so that we can even present you an elaborate system that can be satisfactory enough by next year.
Very well.
These are all the concerns we have.
Let me talk to you.
And so it is important to thank them in any case for agreeing to suspend the strike. At least that is what we expected in the first place. I can assure them that this government is more than willing to engage further.
Very well. Richard gives for the problem is that there is no fiscal space. Fiscal space mainly attributed to you because they say that the economy was managed so criminally and abysmally to the extent that there is no money in the kitty to satisfy these demands, no matter how legitimate. What's your view, first of all, on the nurses' strike, circumstances that led to the strike, eventual suspension of the strike, and the matters that have come up in respect of fiscal space? Richard? Yes.
Good morning. Good morning to you, to our nurse friend who is in the studio. I didn't catch his name.
It's Jefferson Asari.
To Hamza, okay, yes, to Jefferson Asari, to my senior brother, Franklin Kujo, who now is firing on all cylinders.
Which you are happy with?
I'm not sure. His thing is all over the place, but I miss him. But you see, Salom, my thing is, first of all, Honorable Komda Binta Akando, the Minister for Health, must go.
He must
He
go.
should have been gone.
Where?
He must go.
Go where?
Gone. Go home.
Oh.
Go home. Leave the ministry and go home. He must go.
Why? Because of the strike?
Completely unacceptable behavior.
But we've had previous ministers who have also endured strikes. They never left.
Let's hold on. Let's hold on. When I finish, you won't ask any of your questions.
Wow.
He must go home. He, when he was a ranking member on the health committee, did you see the things he was doing and saying? He accused Dr. Ajibabedu for looking on for a strike, a local strike in Kumasi, Komfanoche. Matters to do with administrative professional matters, where the lab technicians, scientists were saying that certain people, I think from the hematological side, being transferred into their domain was not acceptable to them. This is a professional matter. Ajimaberu is an accountant, a local professional matter to do with a hospital. He said that the minister looked on for that to evolve into a strike. What is a minister supposed to do in a professional conversation?
But Richard,
hold on, Salam. I said you won't ask your questions anymore 1 minute. The matter to do with the lives of Ghanaians, which matter was brought to his attention in January. He assured the people that it will be factored into the conversation of the budget. That's why I disagree completely and entirely with Hamza. The very nice way is Friday that budget begins a long time and everything, and it is before this government, all that. No. This government has full control of what went into this budget. It's nobody else's budget are theirs. They found means, they found fiscal means to put all manner of things, including 2.7 billion for compensation at the Jubilee House. They found all the means to do that. Now, but then they didn't prioritize the health of all Ghanaians. That one was not important to them. And so now we are here today, and the health minister is making all sorts of flimsy suggestions to do with call retired nurses to come and help. Hamza, he didn't say anything else that you're trying to polish. He was clear that retired nurses should come and replace them. That kind of hardball he was playing with people's health was repugnant, for which reason he must be gone. People died. People died. People actually died. People died because of his negligence, because of his lack of seriousness to a problem such as this, a nationwide strike. If you don't have a nurse, the hospital doesn't run the way it ought to run. When I had my accident, the only assurance you had for a second chance was the presence of a nurse, the assurance of a nurse, the attentiveness of a nurse, their presence. When there is a shift where the nurses are being swapped, I am anxious which nurse is coming to me. When is she coming? So this is not matters to joke with. So when you sit in parliament, comfortably in opposition, throwing things into the pitch as though you can do the job, and now the job is handed to you and you watch for people to die, you must go home. Akando must go home. President Mahama must see to that.
I see.
It is that same principle in our further conversation to do with the NCA matter, the president's issuance of clemency. The same principle I'm applying here is what applies when we have that conversation later.
No, by the time we finish this program, at least 2 ministers must go home.
Yes, Akando must go.
So let me deal with that. Akando must go. Let me deal with this Akando must go matter.
Sorry?
Let me deal with this Akando must go matter.
Yeah.
He's a health minister, but he's not a finance minister. He's a health minister. He can only appeal to his colleague finance minister to create space for them. If the finance minister, wait. But he doesn't, of course, he doesn't have to come and tell us that he told his colleague finance minister, and if colleague finance minister says he doesn't, he's part of it. He must own it. Besides, there's a labor minister and there's a finance minister. The people to do the negotiation, fair wages and salaries committee, of course, they fall under the Ministry of Finance. So to single him out and say he must go, I think it's a bit misplaced, and it's also not. You can't compare it to the situation which happened in the Ashanti region. Let me finish. You can't compare it to the matter that happened in the Ashanti region because you said it's a professional matter. That purely was a matter of leadership, right? So if in the past he said the minister should go because he looked on for such a matter to degenerate, it was purely a matter of leadership which could have been resolved there. Worst case, regional level, national level, and it degenerated. So that's leadership.
We are doing too much. Let me help you here. You are the lawyer. Approbating and reprobating is what you're doing for the minister. He must go. The business of leadership, it was applicable in the case of Ajima Menu and it's applicable to Binta Kando. You cannot distinguish or differentiate between them. He looked on for people to die. He looked on for people to die.
I see.
That's the matter. Now the buck stops with him, not with the finance minister when it comes to the health sector. He must advocate for the people in that sector. He must advocate for the wellness and the progress in the health sector. So that's his primary duty. So if he looked on for the nurses and midwives to go on strike, which I believe is a fundamental lack of interest in the welfare and the continuous service of the nurses and midwives, because they felt that that one, they can talk about it, they can use their propaganda to format around it. That's the reason why when he came to the press conference saying that, oh, let the retired nurses come and take over. What an egregious statement to make when you have 120,000 people, okay, or 220,000 or 28,000 more people across the country sitting at home, and you think that the retirees, who, from what I have learned, are in a very dire situation, to come and do what? That tells you of a government that is not serious, a government that's not focused, a leader in the health sector that doesn't have his eye on the ball. A situation that we just went through. God saved us from this. If the nurses had progressed further, which I think justifiably they have a call, they have a demand, they have what is due them being denied them. Okay, though I don't agree for them to stay home because people were dying, but in principle they had a case. In which case I think if the negotiation, apart from the fact that the minister looked on for this to come to a head, the negotiation itself was not progressing in a manner that should give confidence to the nurses. Their position was, government was saying they don't have fiscal space, which I don't believe, because just yesterday they introduced the devil levy to collect about 5.7 billion. Is that a
which one is the devil levy?
They found it because they needed it to reward in of ECG, which the minister said he will not do. He will not do. What happened to making ECG increase its collections? What happened to that? Then suddenly they introduced this devil levy to collect 5.7 billion to reward ECG's inefficiencies, incompetence. They collect that. But people who are working to ensure our lives, I'm saying the sum on the amount required to be able to grant these benefits to nurses estimated somewhere around 2 billion or a little over 2 billion.
2.2 billion.
We have 2.7 billion we have to reward people for compensation. We have 5.7 billion that they are going to collect to reward the inefficiencies of ECG. How about reward the nurses, what is due them for saving people's lives? You tell me where the priority is. So I'm saying that the minister must go simply because he is not on top of his job.
I see.
The same way he was talking about, he must go.
Well,
so
what happened?
The point is,
yes, Richard. What happens to a lot of the concerns they are raising are, things which came from the past. So the talk about medical care or insurance, the talk about book and research allowance, all of these are not new. In fact, he even said in the COVID time, the promises you made to them, you didn't fulfill them. So is it not also reprobating and approbating, as you did mention, for you to take the posture you are taking?
In what sense? In what sense?
Because, for example, some of the things they're asking for were things which were promised them in your time, and they don't have, and things they've been mentioning. They said the COVID things we heard, and he's even blaming the media for not doing a balanced job because we just hear from government and we think that's the truth. So the COVID thing we said, government said we're going to give them, they didn't even give them, and we think they were given. And so that, defines our direction or how we approach them. So it's not just a 6-month-old government problem. It's a problem that's been historic. And so
there is no such thing as a 6-month-old government. There's no such, let's stop saying that.
Government is a continuum.
Okay? Government is a continuum. So there's no such thing as 6-month-old government. There is this government that must take responsibility for the affairs of the state.
I see. Great.
Simple.
I see.
Agreed yesterday and whatnot. But I'm just saying to you that, okay, we are at a crossroads now. Who is in charge of the affairs of the state? What are their responsibilities to the nurses to discharge that agreement, execute that agreement? And the question is, have they executed in a manner that should have prevented the avoidable death in this 13 or so days?
I see.
Okay, they failed. Now, the proposition they are making, I totally, I am not, encouraging the nurses to go on strike, because life lost cannot be replaced. But you see, the government must be sensitive. The government must be proactive, especially when you have Honorable Minta Akando, who was pontificating when he was in opposition, calling on people and calling them all sorts of names. He ought to be on top of his job, and he hasn't been. Why? People have died, and I think he should go home. And the NDC must stop having this retrogressive conversation about, oh, yesterday the thing was passed, we were just young. Look, what is the issue that we are discussing? As if they don't know about this thing happening? There's a conversation. There was a notice given them in January about this matter. But they chose not to prioritize it, which is why we are here. So it's a matter of negligence.
They say fiscal space.
Fiscal space. I just told you why that question.
Wait.
So unfair to me.
Just all of you should know that your points.
Yeah, sure.
All of you should know that your points. So conclude for me. Let me speak to Franklin.
So
yes.
I shall conclude. I'm just saying that the matter of fiscal space does not arise.
Very well.
Okay. If a government that is preaching austerity can appropriate 2.7 billion for its own compensation at the Jubilee House, that government is not talking to me about austerity.
Very
okay.
Well.
If government can introduce a devil levy to collect 5.7 billion to compensate the inefficiencies of ECG, that government is not talking austerity. So the matter of fiscal space does not arise.
Very well.
And further, the NDC must stop arguing with the nurses. They must understand that they are there to run the ministry or the health sector so that Ghanaians derive benefit in terms of health, proper health delivery. And if they are in the business of arguing and trying to blame the nurses for demanding what they are due in law or in agreement, I think that they are losing the plot.
Very well.
Right now, the minister should go home. And if he's not going, the president must make him go.
Great.
Because he is watched for people to die.
Great. Franklin, a lot has been said. What's your thinking on what's been done so far? Should Akando go home? Is it too early, or you think Richard is being too harsh?
Good morning, Richard. Good morning to my good friend Salam and Mr. Sweeney and the mess. Well, I think Richard, relax. That's anyway. I mean, you are entitled to your opinion. Look, from where I sit, my worry is that I think we do not necessarily value these rather important professions in the country. Of course, we can even spread it towards Africa. And I think nurses, teachers, doctors, one of the few of the very important professions that we must actually respect. When I say respect, it means making sure that they have the tools to work with, they are rewarded adequately, and then we demand of them productivity, so that people will not just pass through and then go and do other things that they want to do. What it also means is that we are paying appropriately and ensuring that we get the maximum value. But how have we treated nurses even while they are training? We've pampered them, haven't we? Politically, one party says, "Oh, I think it was John Muhammad who said in 20, which contributed to his loss, by the way, that he's not going to pay the nurses allowance, was nurses training allowance." Remember, the opposition at the time used it against him, and when they came, they started paying, and we started rewarding these entities. But we did that with teachers as well. I think we still do. I've never understood that game. So it's a state that lifts you up. The state virtually believes that you can live at its expense, and after creating this monkey or lioness, now we are crying that we can pay them well. I've never understood why we should be paying trainee nurses and teachers for what exactly. I don't understand that. So that politicization of the profession, which actually leads to externalization of serious funds, which will be used to maybe apply for their proper benefits when they actually were trained, can be blamed for some of these things. I mean, I'm not saying that there are any challenges to the economy. Yeah, there are. But I think both sides, and I think the last election, John eventually said, oh, don't worry, I'll pay. You know, the moment we do this shifty politics, that we think that we can create Ghana votes through, you know, giving freebies to a section of the population that do not require it, that do not need it. We should not be worried. We should not be crying now that they come back biting at us. I mean, what's the point? I mean, I would have thought that all these questions about, all these interventions that we made could have been probably reserved for nurses who actually go through the grind and then make sure that they are properly rewarded. So that's one part of the argument. But I must say also that I think if I looked at the bill, I looked at the typical salary, well, should I call it a payment structure for a graduate nurse, and I realized that the tax component is so high. I mean, that's about 25%, and I'm mortified. But if I look at the tax component and compare it to the other benefits that they pay, the SNAID, the welfare, and all of that, somehow it looks as if it's evens out. I would have thought that one of the best ways to negotiate our way out of this problem is to start having conversations about tax concessions. And I don't mean tax concessions on importing cars. Those things are ludicrous and quite frankly annoying to hear, that they want to import cars, so we should give us tax waiver for what? Why should I give you tax waiver? Why should the teacher get tax? Why shouldn't I be getting tax waivers when I also pay the tax? Why? Is it because you're a nurse? No, I don't think we should stop those things. And I'm happy the Minister of Finance is actually stopping that practice.
It's to incentivize them. I mean, because like you said, some of them are very important. Nurses, teachers, doctors.
If you want to import your car, please, that's a personal decision. They're private. What about people who take torture and others to work? Are you so special? What are you talking about? I mean, if you want to import a car, and you see, the annoying thing is that there's even no limit. So if I'm importing a Jaguar, then I should be giving, it doesn't make sense. And these are the things that I say that we externalize the state and then make sure that we pamper people, and then when they become full-grown adults, then they start asking for more. We should not be doing that. I hear funeral allowance. Well, everybody should go take a damn funeral insurance. I don't see why the state should be paying you funeral allowance. I don't even understand that. Is it funeral for accompanying the dead? I don't understand that. Funeral insurance for accompanying the dead, which probably you probably didn't even take care of properly before it died. Some of the nurses are so brutal and very, very disrespectful.
Probably, where is this funeral allowance coming from? Is it where the nurses? I've not heard them say anything like that, unless of course you are referring to something else. No,
I hear all kinds of things. Okay. Anyway, sorry, Mr. Ness. It was not part of it. I thought I saw that. I'm sorry, but I'm just saying that people ask for all kinds of things, and I'm worried because I'm like, why is this? What's happening here? In any case, my point is car allowance, a car importing allowance. There are other things that you could be giving, but the argument I'm making is that.
But frankly, even the car allowance, the car importation allowance, or whatever it's called, the nurses. I mean, if they say their salaries are small and all of that, and there are hinterlands where nurses are needed. Not every profession necessarily is needed in certain hinterlands. Facilities there are poor. In the night, when they may be called for duty, how do they get to the hospital? So if they have a car, which the state assists them to get by way of waiving some of the duties at the port, that is fine. That is encouraging enough to help a lot of them move to some of these areas.
That's fine. But assuming that the cars are used to carry sick people to the hospital, maybe that's another argument.
I mean, for the nurses to drive to the hospital.
What about motorbikes?
No, I don't know the last time I used a motorbike. I'm not a fan of motorbikes.
I'm just asking a question. You see what I say? He's trying on all cylinders.
So my question: What about bicycles? You know, once you extend the argument, then you say, is it only cars?
Safety.
What of cars? You know, safety. Okay, fine. Look, all I'm saying is that there are professions in this country that must be well regarded, respected, and frankly, if you live in a country where the hospitals are like mortuaries, people lie on the floor. The hospitals are like refugee camps of internally displaced people. Your nurses are running helter-skelter. They are full of anger, you know. And look, the nurse nearly killed my first son, you know, at 37. And I've seen these kinds of things just out of pure, I don't even understand this whole mentality. So my question is, if you have all these challenges, right, and you don't fix them, we'll be going in this round, how do you call it, merry-go-round. Give me more, give me more, give me more. I would have thought that the nurses should also be asking for these things that make their work fairly easy. And I understand it. I mean, if you are thrown in a dish, look, I was coming from Wednesday, I was returning from my village, Taffy and whatever. We have a little project there. And I was just scandalized. I mean, anyway, I'll reserve this example for the national service. Okay. But I'm just trying to say that, look, I think we need to get serious. Nurses are important, just as doctors are, just as teachers are, just as plumbers are, just as whoever, security men are. We should start rewarding people properly and stop these offside, how do you call it, prepping up or giving them freebies. I think if we don't do that and rationalize some of this thing, we'll continuously be in this hole. And I don't. It's not pretty at all. Not pretty at all.
All right, great. So I take just 2 minutes from you, which is your concluding remarks, which I'm sure you want to respond to others. I'll take 1 minute from Hamza, then I'll take 1 minute from.
That's not going to
be. Thank you very much. I will want to say that I am not happy where our conversation is going. That is the politicization of it. I am not happy at all.
No, you state your professional thing. Let the politicians do their thing.
Yes, yeah. We want it to be very neutral. But I also want to state that we did our part of the bargain. We cared for the citizens of Ghana. It was somebody's responsibility to do the financial, whatever, the economy, and it was somebody's responsibility. It wasn't mine. So you can't tell me that somebody has mismanaged the economy, so I should go and die, or I should go hunger. No, that is not my responsibility. It is their responsibility, and they should hold to it. You understand where I'm coming from? So that is the point I want to say. I want to tell my brother that there has never been any year where we went back to renegotiate our conditions of service. No, that is false. 2020, when we went on strike, it was during the time of negotiation. This document has not been signed.
2020, when there was COVID, you went on strike?
2020, we went on strike.
In COVID?
3 months to election, we went on strike.
Oh, I see.
We went on strike. That was an allowance where we were bantering. We proposed an allowance, government proposed some, we didn't have an agreement. So it was not that we went into concession with government.
So how did it end? How was it
at a time we had a mutual agreement. We went up.
So there was
we went up a bit, and we came. That is negotiation.
We're not talking about collective bargaining agreement.
Exactly.
We're talking about negotiation.
Exactly. But his point was.
I didn't make reference to collective bargaining.
His point was we negotiated with government and took concessions. We even went on strike.
So that's a similar thing he's calling for.
Yes, but then this has not been signed. We were still on the negotiation table.
Let me provide this. Two parties agree on a document or on some conditions.
Yes.
In law, the two parties could meet and vary it.
Exactly.
So if you and government agree, despite signing this, you could vary the terms. The thing could say, let's start from 1st January, but the two of you can agree that let's start from 1st August, and it's still legal.
Yeah, sure.
So that's what I think he's trying to talk about.
Definitely. But this government has not brought anything on that table. He's saying that fair wages.
Oh yes, because I think I heard an official say that they wanted to move the implementation date. If it's 2 years, it starts from maybe, let's say, I didn't get a date, but let's say start from next January. It will still be 2 years.
No,
it will not end after 1 year.
After 2 years, this document has expired.
That's what I'm saying. That if you move the
if you don't know,
let's understand it.
After 2 years, this document has expired.
Let's say
in next year, we need to go
again.
and renegotiate again. So if you are telling me that we should move this to next year for implementation, are you rather impoverishing me, or you are making me better as a worker?
The percentages in there, the 5% is rural incentive allowance, all of that. The 5% is not static. It is based on the basic, which moves.
Exactly. That should have taken effect in July 2024. So if you are moving it to January 2026, is the purchasing power of that 5% the same?
But the basic moves, because the basic is affected by increases in salary.
So till January, where is the basic going to increase? It is the same. The basic does not increase, but the purchasing power reduces. Let me put it in again. He said that we were not ready to negotiate with Fair Wages and Salary Commission, which is false. We were in the meeting.
And you left.
We didn't leave. That is false. We finished the meeting, closed the meeting. We changed our position even at that time.
The ladies were looking for you, so people were dodging.
That's false.
That's not true.
You see, we can try as much as we can to win the social media war by propagating false and propaganda. But the reality is outrage. The reality where people are suffering.
The hospitals.
It's at the hospitals. So let us not try and politicize and massage and try to look good. No, it won't help. Let us face fact. We were at the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. We finished the meeting. We changed our position twice.
From what to what?
Saying that this has been signed and needs to be implemented from July 2024. And
before
we are taking,
your colleagues took it to court.
Yes, before. And we are taking everything. That was the position we went in during this meeting with Fair Wages and Salaries Commission last week, Wednesday. And the commissioner told us that no, government does not have any budget for us. Government is not ready to pay this year. We said that, okay, we understand. So why not look at some of the items that will make the nurse going back to work have some free mind, some emotional calmness. Then we can talk to our people. They said no, government has no money for us. There's no budget for it. So you and I, who is dealing in bad faith?
I see. Hamza.
You see, they have been very unfair to us, trying to politicize it, mix it, and
very well.
and to tell us that we should rather be fighting for logistics and infrastructure. Whose responsibility is that? Whose responsibility?
Very well.
Now you are pushing the responsibility to a nurse that I should go and tell government to come and build hospital. Oh, like how do this country do not respect nurses at all?
No, they will do. We love you.
No. It's very unfair. If you listen to the commentaries people make, you understand that they do not understand our work. They don't understand
so it's a duty
at all.
Also, that's why this conversation is important.
It is not fair.
You
are telling us we are requesting for food allowance.
No, he said not you.
Not even
you're making a general comment.
It's very unfair.
You see, Salom, I hope this time round you will give me the needed time, because I've been looking at.
I'm giving you 2 minutes.
No, that will not be fair, because I particularly monitor how you decided not to even interject.
Now, who have not been paid 12 months at the minister, you are calling them to come to work. They've not been paid for 12 solid months.
All right, so
you know, you are not being fair to nurses, and it's very sad.
So government is listening, so he'll take the message.
My brother,
so
please calm down. You see, this is not an emotional warfare.
It's not emotion. You
no,
see,
please,
somebody has been working for 12 months. You have not paid the person, and now you are telling the person that come to work.
Can I make a point?
It's a national interest.
He's coming to even kill people right now.
You see, that is why I expect you to demonstrate that, because if you want government to listen to you, I have been a leader before, especially at the student front, even at the teacher training colleges level. So I understand how some of these things span out. That is why I'm appealing to you that it should not be an emotional warfare. The most important thing is to concentrate on the points you are raising, so that government can listen. But please,
your communication people missed it.
Please,
let him make his points.
I hope this time around I will not be interjected.
It's all right.
Because I particularly observed the flow you gave.
I interjected.
No.
This guy.
But see, First of all, my brother, you made a point that is it the responsibility of nurses to put pressure on government to make available health infrastructure needed to enhance health delivery? Absolutely yes. It is the responsibility of every citizen of the Republic of Ghana to demand that government invest in sectors that it must invest in. The Constitution places that obligation on each and every one of us. Our democracy places that obligation on each and every one of us. It's not simply about demanding for the betterment of your conditions of service alone. If your conditions of services are better, and the hospitals in which you work in, you are liable to contracting sicknesses that you can take home because of the poor conditions of these hospitals, then it is your responsibility as well to demand that government puts the necessary investments in that sector, not just as a nurse, but also as a citizen of the Republic of Ghana. So it is important for that point to be made. If it was not part of your orientation, that as a citizen and as a nurse, you need to demand that the necessary investment is made in the health sector for delivery, then add it to your orientation, because I know how your organization works. And I know that it is not just about your salaries and conditions of service, and your conditions of service also demands that you work in acceptable infrastructure. So let's make that point. That's why I was questioning about the emotional aspect. Again, it is not as if this government is arguing with you. And if you look at the tangent that I took, that is why I made the point that many of these things you are raising, these are things that we agree with you in principle as a political party, even before we assumed the reins of government. We are not arguing with you that indeed you need those things. As a matter of fact, many of them we feel that you need it. And it is the responsibility of government to do so, to provide it. And this government is not reneging on that responsibility. All what we are asking of you is the financial space to be able to put the economy back on its feet. So that, no, you don't have to cause it. You see, you didn't, I'm not saying, by saying that, you see, that's what I'm saying, that you have to be careful with your emotional outburst. If I say that there's a need for us to put the economy back on feet, it is not a suggestion that it was caused by nurses. Absolutely far from it. Whichever way we look at it, you listen to my brother Richard trying to run away from the mess they left. But undoubtedly, we are not even categorizing it as an MPP mess. It's a governmental challenge that we are trying to resolve. And so if we are appealing to you as stakeholders when it comes to even the management of our economy, not just health delivery, understand the angle we are coming from. It is not to say that you are responsible for that.
You will not renege on your responsibility and tell me that you see.
Wait, let him make his point.
Please,
so
please.
I'm here to.
Please, you see, I was quite listening to you.
No, Hamza, just you see.
So you need that. You need that. Now, so be patient. This government will listen to you. This government will engage further. That assurance I can give you.
But some harm has been done already.
No, you see, when you are talking about the basic, Selom, these are adjustments that can be made out of the negotiation process for its implementation next year. It doesn't mean that one government is telling that let's move it to next year. It doesn't mean that government will not look into the details, because even inflation would have an impact on the rates that you people are proposing. So it depends on your readiness to be able to engage government meaningfully to secure the best next year for your staff and for your colleagues. And so that is the appeal we would make at this stage. But it does not mean that we disagree with you in principle as far as your demands are concerned. Now to the demands that the health minister should go. You see,
I adjusted your sitting position because you want to face Richard.
No, you see, sometimes when you listen to my brother Richard, you begin to appreciate why the NPP lost the last election in the manner they did. This is a very sensitive national issue.
But in some places, matters like this will make the health minister.
Yes. Not matters like this. Not like this. Do you know matters like this, the kind of matters that would have made the health minister resign? In 2017, their own appointee, the Honorable Kwekwa, the nurses who were trained and were not employed based on the promises of the NPP in opposition, had series of meetings with him. They failed to take the consideration of these nurses. They embarked on a nationwide demonstration and called for the head of Kwekwa Agyemang. It is there. I have it here. Did Nana Dodon Kwaku-Addo sack the health minister? did my brother Richard support the nurses to demand the head of the health minister? Again, that same Kweku man blamed nurses in this country, somewhere 2018, and I can read it. He says, I share the opinion that nurses are to blame more for the gloomy picture of gross disease burden arising from chronic ailing conditions, addiction of unhealthy life classes among people. This is the comment of their health minister. Publicly blaming and shaming nurses.
But if nurses are not doing well, he has to say it.
No, but you see, again, that is why I'm asking. Have you heard the Honorable Akando anywhere attempt to even make such statements by blaming our health delivery professionals? Absolutely not. But you had appointees who on national television appeared antagonistic to the very people that they were supposed to work with to ensure health delivery. When indeed government itself failed to make the necessary investment, their government, in the health sector, in terms of infrastructure.
Very well.
You did not call for the dismissal of the health minister. Today, you are hypocritically calling for the dismissal of Akando for doing what? And it is important to state, that even in this struggle, I have not heard the nurses calling for the dismissal of the Honorable Akando.
That's not our duty.
Exactly, they have not called for it. You see, so he should not proceed on the basis of his own partisan agenda to settle scores with the Honorable Akando. You can understand the anger, where that passion is coming from, because he knows that in truth, in opposition, the Honorable Akando became an important mouthpiece of health professionals in this country, not just nurses. And so I know,
so now that he's in power,
you see, I know the kind of disagreements he's even having with the Ministry of Finance in terms of his desire to ensure that the nurses get the necessary equipment and resources and better conditions of service to work. But you see, he is a cabinet minister. These are not things that he can say publicly.
Very well. What was the way forward?
The way forward is simple. We must continue to engage like we did yesterday.
Very well.
And it is important for the likes of Richard, who are still reeling under their painful defeat, not to poison the process by their pettiness and partisanship. Because at this critical moment, it is about the lives of the Ghanaian people. And that is why I was a little bit disappointed in the last statement of my brother, when he said that if you want to see what is happening, then we have to be looking at the hospitals. As if to say that it is okay and acceptable for you to use the lives that we are losing.
That's what the suffering is.
Yes, no, but you see, but it is not something that he must know. He must say in the context in which he said it. As if it's a threat.
No problem.
You do not threaten the republic or the Ghanaian people or the government.
Maybe it's out of frustration. Maybe
it's not out of frustration. It is the truth. You can do what propaganda you do. We feel what goes there. You can do whatever propaganda you do.
No, my brother. He's not been able to demonstrate. You see, I understand that. Come on, let me finish my point.
Wait. You can do whatever propaganda you do.
Wait.
You see,
you can say whatever you say.
Your microphone.
Let me just conclude.
Let me make this point.
I beg you. Let me.
President Kufuor said that if you pretend to pay people, they'll pretend to work.
Yeah, so but let me make this point. You see, my brother. You see, so I'm trying so hard. Yes, I'm trying so hard to accommodate you here because I know you are not representing yourself.
Exactly.
You are representing our. Can you be patient? Can you be patient? Can you be patient? Can you be patient?
So conclude for me.
I am trying so hard. I know you very well. You may not know that I have information and your background, everything. I know it. But I'm trying so hard to contain you, largely because of your background. Come on.
They have profiled me and I'm aware of it.
You see, because who has profiled you?
I'm aware of it.
I don't think that you deserve that attention from government, to be honest with you. The most important thing that don't confuse. I know you. Jefferson very well.
But you see, Jefferson is alright.
You see,
he knows you in a good way, so it's okay.
The statement is made. It's not even necessary at this table.
Jefferson is alright.
So the statement you made is not necessary at this table.
Hamza, still.
Can I land?
So Hamza,
you see, I am trying so hard not to be.
You don't even say that.
Exactly.
Don't say that. We are having a discussion.
No,
he's stating the views of his association.
No, but I'm giving him an advice.
Me personally doesn't stand the position of the association.
I know you very well, which is a fact.
Yes,
and so I'm resisting the temptation. No, it does.
No,
it is important to what I'm coming to say. I'm resisting the temptation. I'm resisting the temptation to limit it to your personality and what I know about you. I'm assuming that you are seated in this chair representing the interests of nurses. You understand? And so that is why I caution that you should be careful with the emotional tangent in which you are going.
I'm not being emotional.
We have demonstrated. Anybody who has listened to me comment on this issue, appreciate the sensibilities and the respect I have for our nurses. And most importantly, the government also demonstrates that posture.
Very well.
So, but be careful that some of the things you say in the heat of the moment. That's why I'm advising you. I've been a student leader before.
It's advice.
I am not a student leader here. If you have been a student leader, I am a student leader. I'm a professional. A minister called.
All right, so let me take a break. I take a break. When I come back, we hear from the other two, then we move on to the next subject. This is the big issue. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is the big issue. We are 97.3 City FM on Channel One television. Quite a heated argument here, or a discussion here. I'll go to Richard, and here we're discussing the nurses strike, which has been suspended, and a number of their demands we've looked at, and we are just concluding on this. Richard, I hear about you have 1 minute. What is the way forward for this? Strike has been suspended. What is the way forward? 1 minute. Because we have to deal with the NSA matter, yes.
Yeah, 1 minute like you gave Hamza.
No. But the first part, you had more time than Hamza.
No, don't say that. I'm keeping time just like Hamza is keeping.
No, I'm the accurate timekeeper.
So, I think that I want to advise Hamza. You know, he must take it easy. This passive-aggressive posture is adopting in the studio, trying to blame and excuse for his government and appear that the nurses are at fault is completely not going to help.
You need to correct that. I don't think that the nurses are at fault. And
he said the nurses have a legitimate.
I've always been consistent that they have a legitimate.
No, he said the nurses.
I'm not going to allow you to.
He said the nurses have a legitimate case.
So, no, but quote me appropriately because I know you people.
All right,
your obsession with the rice.
Hello.
Yes. So Richard, you have the floor. Richard, you have the floor. Yeah, you have the floor.
Thank you. Hamza must begin to realize, and I've been following his communication. Okay. He must begin to realize that he is communicating for government and the party in government. His government has goofed. People have died. The best he can do when they come to the studio is to be humble, not to be attacking people, insinuating and saying the things he's saying in the studio.
Very well. I want the way forward. Yes, I want the way forward.
No, the way forward is what I'm saying, that Hamza and the government must learn to be humble. They must learn to understand they are in government, not in opposition. They still haven't woken up to that reality. Okay, they must understand that they manage our country and our lives are in their hands. And when they fucked up the way they have done, and in court, in the manner they have done now, when people have died, I'm telling you that way because I know people who have died. People close to me have perished because of this. They must learn to be humble about it. If Hamza and the NDC think they can't take the heat, they shouldn't have entered the kitchen. So the nurses are justified in making their demands. They ought to come to the negotiating table with some dexterity and appreciation for the work they do. We can have conversation about what Franklin said. I think that the germane point he raised about maybe the rural allowance, I believe they should get it. But if we can look at perhaps if we are funding or providing some allowance for them to go to school, then maybe we should argue on that front or withdraw that allowance if that's what the NDC want to do, and then say that we'll forward that maybe when you finish and you are posted to a place. Because look, why I support the nursing allowance is because after their graduation, somebody who studied, lived all their life in Accra, you transfer that person to my village, where she's never been, and she has to adjust and live there and care for the people, then it is right that you have to provide that incentive. That was the original.
The allowance is for their schooling. What the allowance is, allowance in the school.
But the reason, hold on, I'm saying that the reason I support that allowance being provided for them to school is that when they finish, you can take them to a village and expect them to do that because the government has sponsored you in your education. So you must also pay back by allowing yourself to adjust to a condition such as that. So for me, in principle,
no, but everybody does that, Richard. I mean,
I'm just saying that.
A graduate from the university also goes to rural areas and he has to adjust. So
I'm just saying that my point is that the work they do is key. That when somebody who lived their life in a certain way suddenly finds themselves posted to a village, an obscure place, they have to adjust to it. And for me, the argument is that after all, the government supported you in school. So in by and large, most of them accept the posting because of. But if there's a thing now that they want 5% rural, postings and all of that, then we can look at it and say which one comes first. We have financed your education. Now you want us to pay you 5% to go to a rural place and whatnot. We can look at that. But generally speaking, I think they're justified in making the request. The government must acquiesce to that. They must deliver. I think that the government just didn't prioritize the nurses. That's why we are here. They have goofed big time. The Minister for Health must go home. No amount of justification will explain it away. If he doesn't leave, he must know. We want him out because he has failed in his job.
Thank you, Richard. Franklin, your final word on this. What's the way forward?
Well, I think they should go back to the negotiation table and discuss these details properly. And full disclosure must be the order of the day. The Minister of Finance and the Health Minister must come with data to show exactly how these PECs, the increased PECs they're asking for, would affect the entire fiscal situation. But they are legitimate claims, and I think they need to be taken through that whole process of understanding why they need more or why they needed less.
Very well. Thanks so much, Franklin. A few of the allowances. There's uniform allowance, which is payment of 1,000 cedis per year. Uniform, 1,000 cedis every year. Fuel allowance.
That's not so much.
Wait. Which uniform?
Nursing uniform, 1,000 cedis a year.
Let's show it for them, or let's show the for them.
But people get clothing allowance. To be fair, people get clothing allowance, so why not? 1,000 cedis a year.
But you don't get.
Hamza is getting clothing allowance.
Government is not government official. Fuel allowance.
Hamza is getting allowance.
Fuel allowance. Wait. Fuel allowance. 180 liters at the rate of 10.99 or at the applicable government-approved ex-pump rate, whichever is higher. That's for principal nursing, midwifery
This is
officers.
Appendix 1. That goes for every public sector worker, not only
Okay,
nurses.
non-basic allowance, which is 8% of basic salary. On-call facilitation allowance, 5%. Rural incentive allowance, 13th allowance. The continuous. Okay, so and then a few other ones. Acting allowance, additional duty. Acting, you are. That's
it is for all
everybody.
public service.
Additional
So
duty
not only
allowance,
nurses.
10%. Overtime allowance, call-in allowance. Frankly, when you are sleeping and you are enjoying yourself with your family, the nurse could be called to go and attend to an emergency. So that's fair.
No. That is also for every public sector.
I'm defending you. Commuted overtime allowance.
This is it.
Height depth allowance.
What allowance?
Height. So
Height.
30 to 40 meters, 2.80 per day. 41 to 60 meters.
When you say height, what do you mean?
Height. No, he's here. Height and depth allowance. Is it that you work?
It is not for nurses.
Yeah, but it's an allowance.
It's not for nurses.
So if you work for the
It is not for nurses. It doesn't.
So what does it
Out
mean?
of respect, that's why I'm not
You
picking
see,
it one
it is
after the other.
where
What's
is
the
it?
height?
Where
No,
is it?
height is height. Height is height. Depth is depth. If you work in a depth,
You mean if you are tall,
This is
No,
it.
wait.
Where is it? Where was it found?
guys, wait. No, we don't have that document. We
Yes,
don't.
and I'm telling you, it
Yes,
is
so you
not
start.
hard.
That's why you are here.
Yeah,
That's why you are
well,
here.
it is not
So, permanent posting allowance is also general. Temporary posting allowance, general. Traveling expenses allowance, general. Tools allowance, 7 cedis per working
Is it
day.
the propaganda I'm talking
Tools.
about?
You see around this table.
The actual person you have in your
Look,
corner
you know,
is
then
me. I could have done all that detailed interrogation
but
of your
this is my
demand.
document.
But I chose to tell you that in a way we're already committed to it.
Frankly, you're out of order. All right, so
And because of your dislike for maybe the person, the party I'm
all right,
representing
guys.
here,
So we will take a short break. All right, thanks so much. But you had a point to make about the national service. He says that national service people haven't been paid for 12 months,
Yes.
and the next subject we are going to discuss is national service.
Yes.
Your plea is that the national service people who are in the health sector,
Yes.
or who are helping the nurses should be paid so that work can proceed.
and we have nurses, qualified nurses who have worked for 6 months now.
who have not been paid,
Not
and they
been
should also
paid.
be paid. But
Yes, sure.
is it ordinary? Is that not the practice? They work for a number of months before they are paid. all their money will come together after controller and all of those things, then they are paid in bulk. Is that not the practice?
That is a practice, but that doesn't help.
But that must change.
Yeah, it should,
very well.
it should
all right,
change.
So I take a break. When I return, we'll look at the National Service Authority scandal. 548 million, according to the Attorney General, is gone to individuals' pockets, and about a dozen people are going to be prosecuted soon. This is a big issue. Let me take a few of your messages that have come in respect of this matter whilst we prepare to deal with the matter of the national service. This one says, good morning, Salom and your panelists. The allegation that the Minister for Health asked the retired nurses to return to work amid nurse shortages are unfounded and should not be politicized. The previous government's neglect left many nurses unpaid and frustrated, leading to strikes. Okay, so quite a long message. Mausi, Ayebi, Aistar, Abutateti. This one says, Salom, why should nurses get a funeral allowance? Are they dying? No, that was Franklin. It's not from the document I've seen, it's not true. Franklin, is it the problem you are causing? This one from Chris in Ashalimuju says, Mr. Hyangba, the MPP, looked on for 8 years without listening to the request of these nurses, and he is hypocritically shouting on top of his voice today as if he had suddenly found a magic wand. What did Richard tell his party when they invested a whopping $58 million in a spiritual hole called the cathedral? Chris, I beg you. All right, Chris from Ashalimuju. This other one says, Ghanaians can harness their critical thinking skills to rise above political affiliations, challenge public perception, and unlock their full potential for positive change. Ghanaian public sector workers' eyes are now open on salaries and allowances for Mr. Politician. Trouble don't come. TUC should also wake up from their sleep and fight for their members on CBA, single spine structure, fairness, etc. Said the Hamza guy is not talking well. We are all mortal, but he speaks like he knows all. All right, so Honorable Anas NK. This other one from SKD says, Franklin is totally wrong on the tax exemption on the car for nurses. In a civilized society, we should have concessions for key workers whose roles are crucial to the basic progression of our society. Teachers, doctors, nurses, train drivers, bus drivers. Franklin didn't get it right. That's from SK Dread. A key worker is someone whose job is deemed essential to the function of society, often receiving preferential treatment or support from government or specific organizations he provided. All right. Okay. So now let's just move on. Now, we're dealing with the national service matter now. The Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayeni, has announced that 12 individuals will be formally charged in connection with a major financial scandal involving the National Service Scheme or Authority. Speaking at a press briefing on Friday as part of the government's anti-corruption campaign Operation Recover All Loot Oral, Dr. Ayeni said investigations into the scandal have been concluded, paving the way for legal proceedings.
Former officials of the National Service Authority are set to face prosecution for their alleged involvement in a payroll fraud scheme that cost the state over 548 million Ghana cedis. According to the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, investigations into the matter have been completed and the individuals in question will soon be formally charged for their roles in what he described as a well-organized network of corruption within the National Service Authority. Notable among the suspects include Member of Parliament for Yagaba Kobori, Mustapha Ussif, who at the time was a former executive director, Osei Esibe Entry, also a former executive director, and a former deputy executive director, Gifty Owari Mensah.
Our investigations have revealed a sprawling criminal enterprise whose network covers the entire country. This criminal enterprise was run by top-level executives of the National Service Authority and their accomplices in the private sector known as vendors or service providers. This criminal enterprise resulted in the siphoning of huge sums of public funds into private pockets. In total, we can confirm from our evidence on the docket and from interrogations that a whopping 548,333,542 cedis and 65 pesos. That's how accurate.
According to the Attorney General, investigations by the National Intelligence Bureau revealed that Gift Owari Mensah exploited the National Service Personnel Allowance System by using it as a security to secure over 30 million Ghana cedis as a loan from the Agricultural Development Bank at a 23% interest rate. She allegedly registered a company named the Blocks of Life Consult using the identities of individuals without their knowledge and presented it to the ADB through a middleman named Maxwell Akwesi Ofori-Minta, together with her husband Peter Mensah as one of the directors of the company.
Some directors, such as Gift Owari Mensah, created and executed a meticulously detailed plan using NSP, National Service Personnel Allowances, as security to obtain a loan of 30,698,218 cedis, 69 pesos, from the Agricultural Development Bank, ADB, at an interest rate of 23%. She achieved these results by using other people's information to register a company called Blocks of Life Consult without their knowledge or permission.
All right, so that's the Attorney General, Minister for Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayeni, laying out the state's case or the Republic's case against the named officials or the named persons who were at the helm of affairs largely at the National Service Authority within the last government. Key among them being the Deputy Director General, Gift Owari, and the former Director General, or Executive Secretary, they call them, who is now MP and also a former Minister, Mustapha Ussif, and a number of other, and a few other members, including Ussif, who is the immediate past boss at the National Service Secretary. I start off with Hamza. Hamza, legal practitioner, member of the NDC, Richard Ahiagba, Director of Communications of the NPP, and Franklin Kujo, President Imani Africa. We will also be joined by Edem Senanu, who is an anti-corruption campaigner, and Andrew Apia Dankwa, spokesperson for the Movement of Change. Hamza, again, welcome to the program. What is the Attorney General seeking to do? If you have evidence against the people, prosecute them. But what is your understanding of the case against the 12 people or so that the Attorney General is seeking to arrange?
I think even before that, let me quickly make the point that hopefully my brother Richard will see the need to appear a bit nationalistic, especially in regards to
why
this issue.
Don't preempt.
No, it is important.
Don't call the man. The man is quietly sitting down. Don't
no,
call
it is important because when I was listening to him make his final submission, when I was listening to him make his final submission,
he was surprised.
Maybe he would agree.
He would deal with
so allow me to make my point, because I was like, come on, is this my brother Richard cautioning against someone adopting an arrogant posture simply because I'm making my voice heard? Because I remember in the last 8 years, we've had to deal with his comments that many, even including leading members of the MPP, considered arrogant. That we had to take down as citizens of this republic, only waited for the 7th of December to boot them out of office. I'm sure today if he goes for the same position, his party will show him the exit, because I was on another show with him when he called out the bluff, arrogantly, of one of their leading members of the New Patriotic Party. But having said that, you see, for those of us in the National Democratic Congress, we are measured. But when it comes to also stating the facts, we do so forcefully, but mindful of the implication it will have on the general public. Having said so, Salom, this is clearly in line with democratic dictates. And also to a very large extent, the spirit of the 1992 Constitution. Here I make reference to the press briefings of the Attorney General. I say so because if you look at under Article 88 of our Constitution, it makes it clear that apart from being an Attorney General, the Attorney General is also a Minister of State. And one fundamental principle espoused by our democratic ethos is the need to be accountable to the good people of this country. And you can ensure accountability by making sure that every step of the way you will make information available to the good people of this country so that they would know what the government that they have placed in there is doing for them. So I think that the press briefings clearly is in tandem with our democratic tenets ethos, and it is something that we must encourage. And I do not see any legal issue with it, because even the accused persons are also clothed with their democratic right to hold their press conferences to counter whatever it is that the minister responsible for justice has put out there. Nothing bars them from doing so. In any case, even under the same constitution, they are also clothed with the legal authority to go to our courts, especially the High Court, to challenge certain pronouncements of the Attorney General. So there's absolutely nothing at this stage wrong with these ethos. Remember that one of the principles we espoused in opposition was transparency and accountability. And this government assured the good people of this country that in our pursuit of corrupt officials, we would at every step of the way carry the Ghanaian people along. That is what we are doing. But on the issue of the NSC, it is important to be very patriotic in that regard. I do not think that it is just an MPP problem. Because I remember in the past, we had situations where certain investigations were carried out in the last administration, not the last administration, sorry, I think under an NDC government, and it was spearheaded by Manasseh Azure-Ewini and the likes, where we were told of the inclusion of ghost names into the NSA payroll. So this is not the first time. What it simply shows is that there's a serious problem when it comes to the administration of the authority. And it is important for us to begin to look at it closely. But what makes this matter stands out is largely because of the litany of corrupt cases we had, especially under the NPP administration. You remember that, look, we woke up to the unfortunate Movumpina scandal under His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, less than 6 months in office. Then that followed with the PDS scandal, where ECG was sold to cronies. And today, I was listening to Richard, his attempt to belittle the damage they caused to ECG by simply trying to hide under inefficiencies. And it was laughable, because Ghanaians remember that indeed the problems of ECG started with that their unhealthy decision to sell it to cronies under the guise of PDS. And subsequently, the problematic management of its contractual processes, where ECG contracted non-NPP party people to supply goods and services that were not needed at the time. And in the process, went over the budgetary allocation for ECG. So you can tell the level of inefficiencies that characterize our state institutions under the NPP. Today, if you listen to if you see the figures and the kind of machinations that went into it, you simply cannot help but conclude that the last administration either was sleeping or was clearly in tandem and blessed this unethical dissipation of our meager resources as a state. Because we all heard not long ago what happened even at the United States of America, the embassy, Ghana's embassy there. The fact that the government was clearly clueless and unwilling to act. This is not the first time people started raising issues with NSC. Under Richard and Co., they failed to act. And it was one of the promises we made, and that is why we are embarking on this tangent. And Selom, I would use this platform to even call on the Attorney General to go a little bit further, because such an elaborate extortion couldn't have happened without our banking officials playing a lead role. It is important for us to begin to interrogate, especially the card processes, cards that the banks issue to the so-called national service personnel. It is important for us to begin to have a look at it, because I know, as a matter of fact, that there are many people down there who are with financial institutions who are part of this process of ensuring that they fleece the nation out of these meager resources. But the most important thing is about accountability to the good people of this country. I am waiting to see the outcome of the case, because clearly we cannot proceed on the basis of what has been made public to us to convict them. It is the responsibility of our law courts to do so. So until that is done, we can only hope and pray that indeed our Attorney General actually lives up to expectation by ensuring that we bring these guys to account. And not just punitive measures, we must also explore the possibility of confiscating assets So that if for nothing at all, we would be in a position to get back some of the monies that would have lost as a state. But goodness me, if you look at the extent of the rot, this is not the first time we are having to deal with allegations of a state official opening a company intended to steal money from the state. I think that the Attorney General in his first press conference regarding the NSB case indicated that another state company was cloned and an account was opened. That seemed to have featured prominently in the last administration. Because I'm told the Deputy Executive Director now, of the last administration, what's her name, the lady?
Gift Owari.
Gift Owari. Also dubiously registered a company, made the husband a secretary to that particular company, and on the basis of that proceeded to even secure a loan from another state agency, Agricultural Development Bank, using state funds at the NSA.
Ghost names,
yes,
NSP allowances as security to obtain a loan of 30 million cedis.
30 million
from
Ghana
ADB.
cedis. Come on. If this is not criminal, what else qualifies to be described as criminal?
Alleged.
And so that is why alleged criminality is important, especially for those of us
it is alleged.
in practice. If it is not alleged criminality, what else? And so it is important for us to get to the bottom of these issues. And if Richard, because I remember clearly somewhere in 2017 when Nanado said in Tamale that nobody should be welcome into his government if your intention is to make money. We all realized later on that indeed even his own family was neck deep in the process of mining the meager resources of our country.
Very well.
So it is my hope that the MPP, because this is an opportune time for them to begin to rebrand, I would expect them to give the government the necessary support. And at this critical moment, I would have been expecting that they would have released a statement to distance themselves and show commitment to supporting the state in its quest to recover the loot and, most importantly, ensure punitive measures. But as expected of them, I am pretty much convinced that they will jump to the defense of these accused persons without a shred of love for the Republic of Ghana. But what we are doing is simply to make it unattractive for people who are given the opportunity to serve this country to take advantage of their positions to fleece the Republic. And I can assure you that this commitment is not only going to apply to NPP functionaries alone. I know that indeed His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama will not even hesitate to apply same standard to his appointees because he has that track record. We also remember painfully the Bugapele experience under His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. So that record is there. And this is not an agenda intended to witch hunt only NPP officials. We will do everything within our power to ensure that we hold past officials accountable, but in so doing, even our own colleagues who are found on the wrong side of the law would be held accountable.
Very well. Richard, should be concerning to you if these allegations really are true. And the page 3 of the Attorney General's statement, in figures, between 2018-2019, 25 million was lost to the state to ghost names. 2019-2020, 21 million. 2020-21, 55 million lost to ghost names. 2021-2022, 61 million. And this is the big one. 2022 to 2023, 350 million Ghana cedis lost to the state to NSP ghost names. 2023-2024, 32 million. A total of 548 million in 6 service years lost to the state, gone to individuals' pockets. That should be very concerning to you if these allegations are true, Richard.
Salom, before I go on to your question,
You have to address Hamza.
Yeah, let me just tell him a small thing. He's not going to be, I gave him a free advice. He's at liberty to take it or dig himself in personal justification of what he's doing that he knows is wrong, attacking citizens who are demanding better performance from his government. If he wants to carry on that way, that's his own business, and I can tell him that he has a long way to go.
Very well.
So I'll leave it at that.
Very
I was going to introduce him to a small proverb which says that a kanwo jena gbongulana. To wait, it's in the rope that the goat realizes that perhaps soon enough his throat is going to be slit. So I'll leave him with that.
That's advice from an experienced man. Somebody who's been there, seen it, and done it. So Hamza, you need to take that seriously. The mention of the goats brings back memories. Dead goats.
Fortunately, I won't go by his example. So,
so on a more serious note, right? The matter to do with oral and the NSS matters that have come up. On the face of it, they are serious. And I want to state the position very clearly that the New Patriotic Party takes any attempt, and I'm happy that you refer to President Akufo-Addo at the outset of his administration relating to his disregard or disapproval, I should say, of any act of corruption in his government. The principal position for our party is that we are to serve the people. Any act of corruption, abusing and leveraging public access for personal gain is completely not who we are. It's unacceptable. We will not condone it.
But Richard, that principled position the president stated on his inauguration day, would you say in all certainty that he saw to the rolling out, to the rollout of that principle, that if you want money, go to the private sector, not in his government? Would you say with all certainty that that guided his governance of his country and his leadership of his team? Would you say that?
So that position by President Akufo-Addo is the inherent position of our ideological stance as a political party, that we believe the private sector, the private sector is the place for wealth creation. That government provides the framework and drive the success of the private sector. So that's inherent ideological stance of the party. Akufo-Addo just reduced it into a bare bone fact that you and I can relate to and see and be able to relate to, almost touch it and feel it. So it's a principal position of our party, and I think that he did his best in operationalizing it. If you ask me, I think that until there's evidence contradicting that, until there is evidence to say that he himself enabled people to do anything which will be in the nature and form of corruption, I think that he did his best. Now, for people not to take that advice, which was the reason he has to issue it to begin with, for people to abuse their position for any personal outcome, that is not something that you can blame Akufo-Addo for. He set the standard. And that is why today, if anybody in our party is convicted, and I'm using the word deliberately, is convicted of anything corrupt or having used their office to leverage their office for their personal gain, the party will not defend that person. And I want this to be the premise of my submission, that if anybody is convicted of any crime which is in the nature and form of abusing public office for personal end, that person will not be supported by us, by the party, anybody. Okay, so that's the caveat that from where we must proceed. Now, the Attorney General, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the NDC, Salom, they have lost all principled standing. They have lost all political standing. And they have lost all character standing to pontificate on corruption. They have lost all of it. Principle, political, and character. They have lost it. They came to government. They told people they were doing oral and all of that. They assumed power. The first act of this Attorney General was to clear people who were standing trial. Was to clear people. And they cleared them. Whatever justification they are giving is their justification. It's not law. It's not that the people have been found to be not guilty by the court. It's the intervention of the Attorney General that cleared them. A court didn't clear them. So that they have lost all political, social, and character standing to now be the ones standing behind pulpit to judge people, to poison the minds of the public against people, that they have been corrupt. They lost it. The Attorney General himself, elsewhere, should have resigned as we speak, when there were allegations of him using or attempting to collect some monies for bribe.
But the person who made that allegation have since come to say it's not true, or it's not.
But I'm just saying that
he should resign because of mere allegations somebody has come to debunk.
About what he's put out against these people, is it fact?
There's allegation. He has facts. He hasn't
yes,
come. He hasn't come to.
Hold on.
He hasn't withdrawn them.
Okay, let's proceed quietly. Yeah, he is putting people in the public domain to be tried on allegation based on his investigation. And he thinks that the public should try those people. The public should be repugnant, should feel repugnant about their conduct. The public should not accept. The public should be angry, inciting the public against.
That is informing the public.
Which information is intended to incite?
But that's your interpretation, Richard.
Pre-convict. Hold on. Which is designed to pre-convict the people.
No, that may not be his intention. That's your interpretation.
Well, but that's what is happening. It's not what his intentions are. What the product of what he has done is what we're talking. The manifest outcome of it. Okay? To besmirch the character of the New Patriotic Party and the individuals involved. You heard my brother Hamza, how he was going on. Okay? That's the intent. Now, the question is, if we go to court now, where the rubber hits the road, and those so-called allegations that the Attorney General has put out do not carry in court, what would he have done? What would the Attorney General have done? He would have convicted these people, created a certain impression in the minds of Ghanaians, in my own mind, right now, because the amount involved is egregious. The amount involved is unacceptable to me, that anybody would use their public office to attain that end. But now he's poisoning all of us. I will be willing to understand, because because I believe that the Article 19 of our Constitution provides for all of us to be presumed innocent. And so therefore, I believe that the court is the final authority in determining who is wrong or who is a criminal and who is not. So I will be in a position to agree to that. But the average Ghanaian has now come to the conclusion, just by mere issuance of this notice or press conference that he did yesterday, that, oh, those people, Gift Owari, SSCB, or Ussif Mustapha, they are corrupt. They have corrupted themselves. That's what he has done. And I'm saying that you are now correcting me to say that, oh, it's just mere allegation. But I'm telling you that I have in my head that the Attorney General has corrupted himself in the process of securing some 500,000 to bribe people. Okay? Is it fair to him? Is it fair to him? Selim, do you think he can correct everybody who has that impression now that the Attorney General has obtained a 500,000 bribe? Do you think I correct everybody? People are moving on with that allegation against him. People seem to be corrupt as a result of that. So why is he doing that to people? When he is a lawyer, he is the Attorney General, and the theater for his job is the courtroom, not the media pulpit. The theater for his job is the courtroom. And he must be mindful of Article 19.
But Richard, legally, there's nothing absolutely wrong. There's nothing actually wrong with informing the public on the steps he wants to take. So these are the facts he has come across. He's Attorney General. He believes in the facts. He's putting the facts out that between 2022 and 2023, it so happened that our
you are a lawyer. You shouldn't indulge this.
No, so the reason that the fact of me being a lawyer is why you should take what I'm telling you. Okay.
No, I'm
Is
saying that
yes.
you shouldn't indulge him.
No.
Where do we need the fact? Hold on. Where do we need
The fact as he has come across. Okay.
I agree. I'm saying that I'm not disputing anything he's put out. I'm not arguing with what he said is his fact. And I'm also just telling you another person came up with a fact to say that he was involved in security of 500,000 Ghana cedis to bribe people. Okay, is that factual?
And that person has since come out to say it's not true.
But for me, what I have heard,
so it's false. Yeah.
Well, that's.
Oh, it doesn't fall with you.
Who is pronouncing that it's false?
No, I mean the person himself has come to say it's not true.
Well, it is true.
The person who made the allegation said it's not true.
It is true.
You are saying
he
it's true.
Said it. This second position is revised. It is true.
So the person says it's not true.
So tell him. Let me ask you. Okay. Let me ask you. No, tell him. Hold on. Please, you are interrupting me too much.
No, I don't want to be on the straight and narrow.
Hold on. No. Just indulge. So what has Dr. Dominic Aini done to the person, having libeled him in the manner he did? What has he done to him?
No, he's made his point. I mean,
what has he done to him? If he has lied about him,
has he taken him to court or something?
Yes, of course. Would you allow yourself to be libeled in that manner?
That's his choice. I may say something about you, Richard. You may decide not to take him to court.
So I am saying that
it may not be worth your time.
Salon, I am telling you that's a compromised position.
Who has been compromised? A plus has been compromised.
Hold on. See, Salon, wait. It is not his personal position. He is a public servant. He is deemed to have used his public office to access that 500,000, whatever he intended to use it for. I am now not clear in my mind if my Attorney General is foolproof or my Attorney General is above reproach as far as corruption is concerned.
But the options
he
available
must make sure that person, there's evidence that person did not have any iota of truth in that allegation. If he doesn't, in my view, it's a compromised position to let the matter die. Let me leave it there. But the substantive matter before us here is that they gone to say people at NSS, Gifty, and the rest of those have undertaken actions that are contrary in the nature of using their office and access to profit themselves. That matter ought to be determined in court. The Attorney General must be advised that he is not a man unto himself. He is a man unto himself only to the extent that the power of state vested in the president by the people of this country has given him leverage to which he is using to advise and ensure justice for all of us. He has responsibility to the people. Abusing that right to advance their politics is problematic. And one day perhaps they will answer for it. People must begin to take them to court. Take the Attorney General to court for actually prejudicing the public's mind against people in the manner he's coming to try people in public when he should be doing so in court. I want whoever has compromised their offices to gain this colossal amount of money for their personal use. I want such people to be prosecuted. My party want people like that to be prosecuted.
Good.
But those people should not be character assassinated by the Attorney General. And from what we are seeing, it's a process where the Attorney General knows he doesn't have any solid evidence that will stand the test of time or the scrutiny of a court. And so therefore it comes to the public, libel the people, and walks away when they go to court. Then in some instances is getting people to sign a plea deal, getting people to do a manner of things. All the things he has talked about so far, where have those things got into? The same Attorney General who has come to clear Honorable Collins Dauda of that egregious conduct, collecting $200 million to build some Saglemi housing, and we didn't see that. You clear that person and you sit here and tell me that you are taking people to court and you are not in court. You are telling the public, what information do we want to do with this? We want a product, not raw material.
He said he's going to court.
Not a product.
And he did so in the first instance.
The product is that people are prosecuted.
People are prosecuted.
And then we say that they have done this for a fact. This speculative discussion is inviting us to do is not how to fight corruption. It's inviting us to have a speculative conversation about what this person has done, that person has done, and in the end, a court will not hold that position. Why not wait till a court holds the position? And then you bring it, and then we discuss. But you are inviting us to a court.
How about
the public a court?
How about
the public is not a court? The courtroom is there. Go to the court. On the strength of your evidence,
but he's done that.
And then bring it.
Maybe this is his approach. He did so for Dubois.
But that is unacceptable approach. We shouldn't indulge.
No, I'm saying that there's nothing in law. Richard, there's nothing in law.
This is not his business. This is the business of the people of Ghana.
Richard, listen to me. There's nothing in law that bars him from doing so. He's actually enhancing accountability. The more reason why you should listen to me. Let me give you another example, which many have said is even more serious. The former Attorney General and even the president spoke about the trial of Upuni and a few others at GBA annual conferences. That is also public. Would you justify that and condemn this one?
So, okay, if you are finding these obscure examples to deal with a matter,
it is not obscure, but I'm saying that
it's obscure. But hold on. Just moderate, okay? The point I am trying to make to you is that Article 19C, okay, allows all of us to walk under that presumption of innocence until a court pronounces you guilty. You know that. You will argue that for your client. You would want that for your client. Assuming these individuals are your client, whose characters are being libeled by the Attorney General in a political environment rather than in a court, what would you say? What is the conclusion of the thousands of people who listened to that press conference yesterday? Assuming that these individuals are outright guilty. This is where I'm telling you that you are the lawyer. Your theater for work is in the court. Why don't you go there in the court and display your dexterity?
Very well.
Why don't you go and display the strength of your evidence? Why come to the political space, poison the water, and when you go to court and this evidence will not start scrutiny, then you come and tell us what?
Let me ask another question, Richard.
And I want to address the point.
No, Richard, you've been talking for the past how many minutes? No, take the next one.
Because you're interjecting me.
Wait. Take the next one. Take the next one. Just take the next one. The point is that, I mean, I'm curious. Did the monitoring system of the government break down? Because how could a whole government machinery sit down for 350 million cedis, allegedly, to just go to waste or go into individual pockets in just 1 year, 2022, 2023, and in 6 years, 548 million will be lost to the state to individual pockets using ghost names. That's serious. Where did the system break down at some point?
Solomon, I would have been happy if you didn't use the word allegedly in all the things you just said.
Yeah, but it's alleged.
Yes. That is why I'm saying that we don't have to have that alleged in the conversation. Let them be prosecuted and we can discuss that. Because what you are discussing or inviting me to give an opinion on is not factual. The people have not been convicted. So why am I discussing in a conclusive term an allegation? What is this invitation to do for us?
Listen to the view of a lawyer with decades of experience.
Salom, please stop interjecting. Is it because we don't have time? Salom, hold on. Is it because we don't know what to do with our time? Hold on, Salom. Is it? Salom.
Go ahead. You see,
is it because we don't know what to do with our time in Ghana that a matter that must be discussed in court then concludes dead, people convicted or let go, then we discuss? That we are acting as the court before the court.
But Richard, this is not new. We've seen this in the US. I mean,
forget about the US. We are talking about our.
We should forget about US. The people we are learning from. Now listen to what Chris Akume, who is a lawyer of many years standing, wants to address your point. He said the AG has done nothing wrong. The police go to court and charge suspects for. No, listen to the thing, Richard, and charge suspects for alleged offenses.
I can't even make my point.
I
can't even make my point. You're interrupting me.
Richard, you've been making your point since that this becomes public knowledge even before trial. Do you say the public mind is prejudiced? Some of the suspects are found not guilty later, even with the so-called public prejudice. This from Chris Akume, a senior lawyer, many years standing. I'll give you 1 minute to state your point and conclude.
Very well. Salom, just hold on.
1 minute. So no interjection.
Okay, yes. So now to that point you just made. So what is the hurry to want to discuss. And Chris Akume, the lawyer you are talking about, he has no control of people's perception. He has no control of people's perception. Whether I choose to believe that at the end of the day, Gifty is guilty, whether he's cleared by a court or not, he has no control. So what people have heard and how they want to process that, Chris Akume has no control, whether he's a lawyer of 100 years or lawyer of yesterday. He has no control. So that's why we're saying the appropriate thing must be done. You were making a point, Selom, that this is done in the US and all of that. LGBTQ is being practiced by and large in the US. You were canvassing that it shouldn't be done here. So why don't you say that because everything there in the US is being done, we should do it here too?
Now you're comparing.
The point must be made very clearly that the Attorney General is not of himself. He's doing something that is injurious to public confidence how should regard our public officials. He is essentially character assassinating these individuals, convicting them in the public when he should actually be doing that in a court. If he has evidence that he thinks is airtight,
very well,
he should convict people in court. Then you and I can discuss in the manner you just said. To me, when you're posing that the monitoring broke down in the government such that these monies can filter into people's pocket, if you are posing that question to me, there will be no alleged.
After the conviction.
After conviction, found them guilty for having funneled these monies into their pocket without any alleged there. So we can say that perhaps monitoring broke down. But at this, you cannot make that point. And that is why the Attorney General must be advised to stop this. It's not right. You must be interested in stopping him, because if these individuals were your client, Solomon, you would say that they are innocent until proven guilty. But by the way the Chief Attorney General is going, these people are presumed guilty by now, by people, by you, by me. That's why you're asking me that question. So we think that Attorney General is on a political agenda. He should be a lawyer. He should be interested in justice. He should be interested in the application of the law. But he's now a political Attorney General, which is wrong. The reason why he cleared the NDC people, now he's persecuting MPP people. The oral they talk about, Salam, is operation. Let me just finish.
Operation recover all loot. Great.
Yes, so, but then
thank you.
This NDC government is practicing Operation Clear All the Looters when it comes to NDC appointees.
I see.
And partisans. And that, for me, is not a fight against corruption, it's a fight for corruption.
Richard is taking this to another level. But great. Franklin, I mean...
It's not the one firing on all cylinders.
You know? So I mean,
I'm learning from you. I'm learning from you, my senior brother. I'm learning from you.
I mean, Franklin, I mean, if you look at the statement of the Attorney General, he alluded to the fact that there was some metric app which was, done with facial recognition technology, identity card checks for verification, validation, etc. And all of these, I guess, were done to avoid problems like ghost names on the payroll. So things like national ID, the Ghana card, we're told that the Ghana card will help also clear all of these ghost names, etc. And at some point, the Controller and Accountant General also came out to say some ghost names have been cleared, etc. Is it that the technology we were using didn't help? What's the problem? I'm struggling to pinpoint where the problem really is from. Why did we see such number of ghost names, 81,000, and nothing? We couldn't see it at all. Went ahead to pay them these huge sums of money, which eventually ended up in people's pockets.
Well, as you know, it's been one of the age-old arguments we've been making at the money. This penchant for registering SIM cards, want to fight theft, you're just wasting your time. The human mind is such an interesting one that it's always ahead of technology. I mean, there are reasons why people are concerned about AI, not because of the should I call it the ethical aspect of things, but essentially because what people can use technology to do. So there's a human element, there's a human interface as always that we need to deal with technology. So that's why we need to be careful how much billions we pour into some of these technologies we are buying for probably 100,000 instead of multi-million-dollar amounts we are wasting on technology. But technology is evolving, right? People pay so much in the public sector for funny technology. anyway, we'll come to that conversation some other day. But you see, after listening to this, and I'm just wondering, first of all, my good brother Richard, I totally am opposed to your viewpoint that these persons are being persecuted. I think rather we should doff our hats to the Attorney General and his deputy and his department who are doing what I call public interest, should I call it education. You see, if we don't educate the public and carry them along, sometimes even justice could be procured. And we've seen this in this country, goats and all kinds of things. I mean, I'm not saying that judges will be manipulated, but let people also know that these are the things happening, and we need to understand what exactly has happened today in court, or even before we go to court. So that in our minds, we need to understand, look, did you know, for instance, that some of these people are pleading that they would like to have plea bargains and pay back some of the money? We need this information. It saves the Attorney General as well as it saves others. Don't forget, he's been accused of quietly arranging for some deals. And I've heard all kinds of funny stories from other places that, Attorney General ran oral is an opportunity for them to make money, negotiate. And these things are not fair. So once he's providing an up-to-date assessment of what the situation is as a country, it is important. Don't forget that the President Muhammad promised a radical transparency. That's what people have forgotten. When he was talking about the governing council, when we met with him, I took those words serious. Radical transparency. He's not saying transparency as usual. Radical. And so it begins with him from his house. As they say, charity begins from home. If the Attorney General is now giving us up to date, and these things are important. Why? Because you see, when we hear these things, we ask ourselves, the governance system we are working in, is it appropriate? The public financial management systems we have invested millions and millions and billions of cedis into. Give me this, poof me this. The only thing we've not invested in is BOFUT. We are waiting for an acronym for a system like that, a technology system called BOFUT. Why? So we spend money to do all these things, and all we do is that it's like a take it or leave it. They hand over these financial systems to you, work with it. We've been working with these financial systems, but guess what? Under the last administration, sometimes almost 90% of transactions were outside of the Give Me system, something we have all collectively agreed to abide by. All these things happening at the National Service Secretariat, all these what I call little devils in creating the very huge devil's footpath. In fact, the last administration, and I'm sorry, my good friend Nado, you just charted one of the one of the most difficult footpaths for the devil to travel on. But I think that you had disciples there. And this is worrying because you see, what it means is that there was complete rudderless leadership. There was no control. Aside the heavy amounts we were putting into public financial management systems, we are not working. Because behind the scenes, these persons, and again, they are alleged, but we know how these things play out quite well in it. I mean, we see their lifestyles. I see all kinds of cars and all kinds. I mean, you don't tell me that you earn that amount and you're buying this thing. So even presumption of innocence in itself is questioned here. So apart from promising radical transparency, which must go with these public updates, it is very crucial that they themselves should also have their narratives. After all, they may be having defense lawyers as we speak. I'm not saying they should start talking already, but I think they should also start putting certain feelers. And if the party wills so, the party believes that these persons are being persecuted, they should rally behind them with evidence sensibly argued, not chobo, sitting on the street, bathing rainwater, and all. Those things don't inure to anybody's benefit. It's a game of, I can understand, it's a game of, it's a game of capturing people's minds. Because then this is not projecting that, look, these guys did so much evil. Aside the reduced economics they handed us, aside the haircuts they gave us, aside the how do you call it, those painful paths they took us
aside the
through,
South
right?
de-representation, your favorite topic.
Aside the South debacle, and aside the fact that the whole no, I'm serious. Listen, I mean, this is very important. Aside the whole that they died for $58 million, aside the monumental, very, it begins to ask yourself, do the devil really lives outside of heaven? It actually lives amongst us. But anyway, having said that, I think it's important that once these updates are being given, we begin to chart a path of essentially what it means that even if people at that lower level could be this brazen, what it tells you is that the mid-level and the higher ups were just in some other planet, some cosmic reality that we are here to unravel. And I feel that these things are important because if you don't do these updates, they also affect the credibility of the oral team, affect the credibility of the current government. And then people say, this is, look, you know why this is important for some of us? Just Wednesday, I was returning from my village and I passed through Tafi Agomi. There's a place I randomly stopped, and then I met the school. They were meeting under trees. Apparently, it was a stakeholder meeting, and I got to listen in a bit and found out that they needed just 15,000 Ghana cedis to build a little computer lab, and then complete a computer lab. Not to populate it with computers, but just fix those things. So I think I raised some money. Luckily, people publicly donated. Imani itself contributed. And then we built the furniture for the lab. Now I was returning on Wednesday. Remember, the Wednesday was when the exam started for BEC, right? Mm-hmm. When I got there, I was asking, what's happening today? People are writing English, and I think the first week was social studies, I think computing, something like that. Then I'll share images with you. I saw the computer lab. I was finished. I was happy, but there were no computers. It turns out that only one teacher, in fact, there are only 2 teachers for the entire GSS department for the last 8 years. Listen carefully. 2 teachers for the entire duration of the last 8 years who were teaching GSS students. There was only this teacher who had a laptop. So you know how the computing will go. Can you imagine that while I was reminiscing that, hey, so how are they going to write this computer exams? They're also writing the same exams, right? But here we are, we see people billowing funds here, wasting them all over the place, and then we're asking and saying what? That we shouldn't know? I think it's important to know. And I say public servants are not, like every ordinary human being, we are not special people. The proclivity to get into those arena of tests, it's well guaranteed. That's why some people say, it's just an opportunity for you, you're not yet there. Yes, if probably I'm there and I see loopholes, I may probably also exploit. But you see, this is where we've been talking about, and I like to harp on this stewardship model that we've been harping on. And I'm happy I presented it to the president finally, presented it. Look, the only way we can radically transform this country when it comes to public financial management is to ensure that while we are procuring, you think this person who have been accused of procuring all this, they're procuring in silos. Come on now, they do it, and then they have their people all over the place. Imagine we were doing this co-creatively. That at the national service, it's not just the bosses who get to do procurement, but people, staff people, random people, individuals who are vested in the whole idea of national service are also interested in looking at the procurement. Every 6 months we come, or every 3 months we ask ourselves, what are we procuring? Who are we procuring for? Are there competitors? This radical transparency together with us will be able to stop this so-called technology-inspired way of fighting corruption. I mean, I'm sure Dr. Bamiyan must be shaking his head. I wasted my time digitalizing for nothing. Because his own people, were the ones digging behind it. And almost every stupid app, which got paid millions of cedis and dollars, have now been rendered redundant.
Very well. Great.
This is bad. It's really, really sad. And I think I doff off my hat for my good friends, Justice and Attorney General, what's his name again? Ayini.
Great.
This timely updates are very useful, so that the people of Tafiagomi, where we spent last Wednesday, will understand why some of us do this work and say, Charlie, you could have built this library for nothing.
Very well.
Right?
While you're talking about Tafiagomi, a texter is saying that tell Franklin we are waiting for him in Pope John's. His alma mater. We are having our homecoming. We need him in Florida at Pope John. So that's just information for you. Whilst you are at Tafiagomi, your people at Pope John also want to.
But you see, I'm not biased because I'm a truly national hero.
That's
because I champion the good for. So it's not sectarian. Otherwise, I could be talking about St. Mary's as well.
That's not in doubt. I mean the matter. So, what was the strategy to jail the people or to recover the cash? Operation recover all loot, all the loot. What's the strategy? And are we recovering the loot?
I think it's both, yes. Like the Attorney General indicated, they are engaged in plea bargaining with many of these guys who are more than willing to make their monies available. But it does not mean that where punitive measures need to be taken charge of, the Attorney General will renege in that particular regard. But you see, Salom, listening to my brother, Richard, I think that I struggled, but I managed somehow to tease out some points to briefly respond to. Because I was trying to follow his logic in terms of the concerns that he sought to raise. First of all, about the question that indeed what the Attorney General is doing seemed to be against fair trial under Article 19 of our 1992 Constitution. Clearly, he can be forgiven because he's not a lawyer. But if you look at the principles and the opinion of laws, it should be clear that such exposés cannot, by any stretch of his own imagination, be deemed as an affront to Article 19, especially when it comes to fair trial. You know that if you look at the work of the Auditor General, when the Auditor General is done, the document is a public document. Indeed, people are surcharged in that document and their names mentioned and submitted before Parliament, and Parliament also falls same to the Parliament Public Accounts Committee. Their sittings are public. When it is done, these reports, in some cases, are given to our universities to put in their libraries, because that is the essence of transparency. So our laws, in principle, is not against what the Attorney General is doing. And that is why I love the submission by Franklin, that indeed this is another way of radically pursuing accountability in tandem with the declaration of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. And so Richard and Co. should come to terms with that. And that is why I also caution that if they had any concern that they thought that would be protected under the law also gives them that platform to take advantage of, to question these public utterances of the Attorney General. So until that is done, I would expect them to continue to support the process, so that at least, if for nothing at all, we can show to the Ghanaian people that irrespective of our political affiliations, when it comes to protecting the meager public resources of the Republic, we will do so as a collective, as far as our politics is concerned. Then secondly, I gave him an invite. Unfortunately, he took it beyond my expectation, because why I said that His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in 2017 indicated that if you are going into government to make money, then you are not welcome into government. And it is true he made that point. But even Nana Addo himself did not stay true to that particular promise. In this, it had to take the labor unions of this country to stand against Nana Addo's own decision to mortgage some state assets owned by SNIT to a cabinet minister under his government, Brian Achampong. Have you forgotten about that incident? A litany of them. Indeed, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo failed to even sanction his own Charles Bisu, who was made secretary to the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Money, when he was caught red-handed on tape accepting bribes. So even the president
is contesting that in court.
Yes, no, but I'm just making the point that, but these were the facts. But even the president did not proceed to take a decision on it by sacking the gentleman. But then again, he sought to create an impression that the Attorney General lacks the locus to demand accountability, because he himself should have resigned because an allegation was made against him. And I was glad when you made the point that even that the gentleman who made the allegation finally had to retract. But for me, that is not even the substantive issue. You see, we must demonstrate principles in our public utterances, especially somebody like him. When there were allegations against the deputy chiefs of staff under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to the effect that they were charging $100,000 to arrange meetings between business people and that of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, did Richard call for their resignation? When Charles Bisu was caught red-handed, did Richard, as Director of Communications of the New Patriotic Party, call for his sacking or resignation from that office? When what is his name? Another, it was Boahin, Deputy Finance Minister or Minister of State, Charles Edu Boahin. When he was caught by a NAS, since investigation,
he was made to resign.
No, yes, but this, I just want us to establish that principle. Did Richard call for his resignation.
But he resigned. He was meant to
he
resign.
was eventually resigned. But the question I'm
It
asking
was so
is, did he
swift that
resign?
Richard didn't have to talk
Oh,
because
no.
it just happened.
We had to push it.
No,
Beyond
because
the limits before
when
they
it came up,
accepted.
the vice president issued a statement
and distanced himself. But even the vice president, his own administrator, used his letterhead, presumption of regularity, as a lawyer,
for the
salary rise that they stole from the harbor. Did Richard call for the resignation of that said gentleman? So, but you see, if we want to demonstrate principle, we must be seen as consistent. But in any case, I don't expect that level of consistency from Richard, because I know the political party that he represents. And he also questioned the Attorney General's power to issue or to file a nolle prosequi. Richard, again, I think that it is important for us to pay attention to the kind of people that His Excellency President Mahama has appointed. You know, as a legal practitioner, that when it comes to the filing of nolle prosequi under law, the Attorney General is not in any way injuncted to give us reasons. Mm-hmm. Is that not the case?
Yes,
but in this particular
interest to do so. Even
but
not,
under law, he is not enjoined to give reasons.
Yes.
But in line with our commitment to transparency, and I'm glad that Franklin made reference to the radical transparency that His Excellency President Mahama spoke about. In line with that radical transparency, he went out of that legal injunction to honor that democratic ethos of ensuring
but you see,
transparency,
said these
to
were
give
justifications.
reasons. No,
those were the Attorney General's justification. They were not tested in court.
No, but you see,
again, but the other point is making is that
I'm making references to
the other point is making is that you don't seek to be prosecuting people when your own people, you've left them off the hook.
That is not accurate. Did you need an angel to descend from the heavens and tell you that there was something wrong with the Atuforsen trial?
So
when the Attorney General himself, wait. You see, he told us from the onset that government is on continuum. You are a practitioner. What we were told about the former Attorney General directly engaging with JACPA, even the judge sitting on the case had cause to complain about the conduct of the Attorney General. That was enough basis for the state to have considered withdrawing that case. Because when it comes to justice, the state cannot afford to be seen as interfering with the processes to jail even a single citizen. So what is wrong? If a government comes into office and realizes that in the spirit of continuum that he spoke about, that this was an embarrassment, the government went out of its way, the state intervened in a way that it shouldn't have, and in order to more or less manage that public embarrassment, the state acted based on the facts available to it to withdraw the case, especially when there was an internal memo that already contemplated the withdrawal of such a case. So the current Attorney General has done absolutely nothing wrong and has done nothing outside the commitment to accountability. Because they had every opportunity. But clearly, because they were fishing, simply looking for an excuse to have NDC functionaries behind bars, they were not meticulous enough. So they were driven by their partisan motives. And you know what even led to the attempted prosecution of Atuforsen. It was because of his position on the e-levy that was introduced. We all know that as a matter of fact. So they should spare us.
I don't know that.
Oh, but you know that. You can pretend that you don't.
There were facts. There were facts. The government was, the state or the republic took to court. There was nowhere in that we had e-levy.
Richard and Co.
There was no e-levy in the charge sheet.
Richard and Co. can engage in all kinds of gymnastics in their bid to protect their colleagues. But one thing we can assure them is that the NDC has always stayed true to the laws of this country. It is you hear them accuse us that there are instances that we have taken their people to court and the courts have discharged them. It is because we respect the rule of law. It is because we are committed to it and we are not intended to interfere. Either you respect the rule of law or there were no cases in them. That is not accurate. That is not accurate. We all know how, indeed, even in government, they have demonstrated to us how the judiciary functions, and I don't want to go there. But we have made a commitment to resetting the public space of this country, and that includes even the judiciary and our economy and many other aspects of our country. And I can assure you that in doing so, we will not unethically interfere with the delivery of justice like we witnessed in the last 8 years. And so they should spare us. Unlike them, we would continue to stay true to the fundamental principles of our laws and ensure that people who are accused of corruption, would be given the needed support and opportunity to defend themselves. Unless I am told that, look,
but
the
it's always been
government
the case. People are given support to defend themselves.
Absolutely,
I'm not
because
sure
that is the
anybody
law. So
manipulated them
until
into
they
this
tell
law.
us that indeed this government is unwilling to make available to the accused persons the needed support for them to defend themselves, they should just shush it. What we are engaged now is, look, so much havoc was committed against this country. And he knows, but largely because of the hat he's wearing as a politician and a member of the New Patriotic Party, he may be unwilling to accept it. Look, Salom, you cannot forget about the mess created in the case of the cathedral. Over $51 million went down the drain. $58 million went down the drain. A litany of corrupt allegations. So this government, I envisage, is going to be very busy when it comes to our quest to ensuring accountability. And my invitation again once more to Richard is that, look, I can understand the difficult situation he finds himself, because to be fair to him, he was a bit distant from their booty, especially when they were engaged in that unethical attitude of looting state resources.
So he's clean.
No, I'm saying that he was a bit distant. That is not the
Richard
same thing as being clean.
So Richard is clean.
No, he was a bit distant. That is not the same thing as being clean. But the point I'm making is that he should be careful, because he must know that even their own party supporters on the ground demand accountability.
Very well.
So it is not just the Ghanaian people alone, but the people that they seek to represent themselves are demanding that their own officers be held accountable. And indeed, if you go on social media on daily basis, NPP supporters demand it. And especially knowing that people like him would be going back to their electorates to demand an endorsement, or if you like, an opportunity to lead again, they should be careful not to incur the wrath of their support base.
Richard, yes, I mean, in conclusion, I mean, Parliament, or Speaker Babin has hinted at getting Parliament to enact a law on lifestyle audits to help all these corrupt things we see. Is it a way to go? Just in a minute.
So you need to stop this minute. Just say that, just like Hamza. Okay?
No, but Richard, on this show, you've been allocated, or you have taken the most time.
Why do you do that? If you are saying that you're going to be cited for corruption by the Attorney General, why do you give me more time? Why do you give me more time?
No, because you keep raising issues which need to be probed. So, I mean,
hello.
Yes.
You know the point.
But Richard says, Hamza says you were far away from the booty. And I asked whether that means you are clean, and he couldn't answer. But he says you are far away from the booty. Hopefully, Attorney General doesn't invite you because you've been far from the booty. Hopefully.
Well, if he invites me, or if his character assassinates me the way he's doing to Gifty, SCB, and the rest, I'll take him to court. I think that is completely unacceptable. It's infringing on people's human rights.
Very well.
And I don't think it's right. So, again, I will advise Hamza again. Okay, except this one, I don't have a proverb for it. It is. Correct me, Hamza. Is it Dagomba people?
Dagomba people. If you need I can give you more education on it if I'm permitted.
Okay, no problem.
Dagbon.
Yeah, Dagbon, right?
Right.
No, I'm referring to the people.
Yeah, the people.
How do I put it appropriately?
Dagombes.
Dagombes.
You say Dagombes, but we say Dagbambes.
Dagbambes.
This is elective language.
Dagbamba. Okay, good. Okay, good. So they have very, very interesting proverbs. I wish I can tell one to my brother. But you see, in English, I can tell him that he must know that where we are not in a courtroom. He should stop fronting law can be excused for not being a lawyer and the rest. We are on a political platform. We are not in a courtroom. When he gets to the courtroom, he can, jostle that with his colleague lawyers in the courtroom.
Very well. Deal with the lifestyle audit thing for me, Richard.
No, I'm coming. He said this.
Watch the time.
I just want to draw his attention to it. Hold on, Salom, please. I want to draw his attention to it. You're not in a law court. You're in a political conversation platform. No. And by the way, when we come to the law, okay, what is he telling me? That the principle, the cornerstone of criminal justice, which is the presumption of guilt,
innocence
of all people, is it trying to tell me that invoking that in this instance is as a result of somebody not being a lawyer? What is he talking about? This is enshrined in international human rights instruments. What is he talking about? When they are in dire straits, they don't have anything to defend their egregious conduct. They shouldn't be coming here tell us that he's a lawyer. A lawyer does not have wisdom.
We have to go.
Does not call that a monopoly on common sense. He said this one many times, and he ought to be drawn to that.
Very well, Richard. We have to
on
go.
the matter. No,
let me defer that one to Franklin to answer, since you have dealt with the political platform. All right.
No.
I beg you. We have to go. We have to go.
No. Let me make a point.
Quickly.
You said so.
Quickly.
You said that.
Quickly.
Franklin,
go ahead. Yes.
This is
no. Richard, go ahead. A few seconds. Quickly.
Okay. So, the business about radical transparency is not equal to trampling on people's rights.
Very well. Thank you. That's a quote. That's a quote. We use it for a card.
He's the president, and I'm saying that president saying that he wants radical transparency does not equal to him allowing his attorney general to trample on people's rights.
That's
the right of presumption of innocence is an internationally recognized human right enshrined.
Very well.
And so therefore, to have the attorney general come out here and character assassinate people, presume them guilty even before they are before a competent court of jurisdiction, not to be proven guilty only, but to be proven beyond all reasonable doubt to be guilty. That's a high standard. So he cannot just simply come and then, presume people to be guilty even before they have their day in court. We're saying it's a bad precedent.
Franklin, summarize everything for me. Conclude for me. We're out of time. Conclude.
Our money is missing. How we get it, I don't care. Frankly speaking, I need the money. So if people are paying and they are not being calumnized, I don't think the Attorney General said people have stolen and they are guilty. I don't think he said that. He's just giving a picture of how much has been. We need to look for the people who have the money.
Thank you. This is how we conclude today's edition of the program. Thank you so much for doing the view and the listening. Have a good afternoon.